Good morning. This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. The new way Wyoming wakes up. Yeah, good Monday to you. The Modular Home Company hopes to ease the expected housing crunch headed for Kemmerer. Remembering cowboys and Indians, rising country western singer Luke Bell had his career and life tragically cut short. Eastern Shoshone tribe member Willie LeClaire was treasured throughout the state. Thinking about DoorDash as your side hustle? We'll tell you the ins and outs of schlepping food orders to hungry customers. What's with the drones over New Jersey? Now they're being spotted over Niobrara County. Is it time to panic? Speaking of panic, is toilet paper going to be in short supply again next month? We'll tell you why you should start hoarding now. And there's a preschool in Casper that holds class outdoors, even in winter. And the kids love it. All these stories and more on the Cowboys State Daily Morning Show with Jake.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Monday, December 16th. I'm Wendy Core, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, brought to you by the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. From 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, Cowboy State Daily's Jake Nichols takes you deeper into the stories that matter and keeps up with the news, weather, and sports in your part of Wyoming. Just tune in to cowboystatedaily.com and join the conversation. With multiple large industrial projects coming into the Kemmerer area, a huge housing crunch is looming. It's estimated that between 3,500 to 6,000 new workers are on their way to the area, along with their families, which would more than double Kemmerer's present population, which is around 2,500. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that one solution that's getting some attention would be modular homes from a Colorado-based company called Fading West.
Modular homes, which have been much maligned in the past, may be a solution for Wyoming's housing crunch in Kemmerer. And one of the companies that does this is called Fading West. According to the company, you would not know the difference if you walked through one of these between a stick-built house and their process. They overbuild them on purpose to fight that stigma that modular homes have in Kemmerer. They're looking at between 3,500 to 6,000 new permanent employees in the area with their families. They need a housing solution that will work.
Fading West has just returned from Maui, where they recently delivered more than 80 new, high-quality factory-built homes in 2 months flat. Mystery drone sightings from this autumn in Niobrara County bear eerie similarities to machines flying over New Jersey and other areas recently, which are currently overwhelming the nation with theories and concerns. But from late October and through November, people started spotting devices that looked like drones flying over the tiny community of Lance Creek. That's what the Niobrara County Sheriff told Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
I had been talking to New Jersey mayors and these military officials living in New Jersey. And so I had this very locked in description of what these guys were seeing. They flew over the mayor's house. And so he gives me this description of how they fly, how they sound. And so the sheriff doesn't know that, but he describes them pretty much the same way. So even though the sheriff didn't get close enough to see the size like these guys did, he's describing like, oh yes, locked formations. One group will do this pattern, one group will do this pattern, about 400 feet altitude.
A retired command sergeant major of the U.S. Army told Cowboy State Daily on Friday that the drones are so conspicuous and so numerous, he doubts they're a foreign adversary or terrorist. But he pointed out that every time governmental agencies deflect, deny understanding of the drones, or refuse to identify their origin, they only drive people deeper into distrust. A 39-year-old Upton man has been arrested and accused of planting a homemade propane bomb in the tool shed of a Wyoming oil field company near Upton in northeast Wyoming. David Riggle remains in the Weston County Detention Center Saturday, held on suspicion of possession of explosives. The jail confirmed to Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson that Riggle is being held on a $10,000 bond.
They gathered some evidence right away. The sheriff in Weston County said that they got some possible fingerprints. He was confident 11 days ago when it happened that they would find someone, and they did. Apparently, the suspect had been in Upton for a while. What was interesting is that the judge didn't go for a $100,000 bond like the prosecutor asked, went with just a $10,000 bond, saying that it wasn't clear that this guy was a danger to the community.
While there was a potential for an explosion, the sheriff said that a preliminary inspection of the propane bomb showed that it appeared to be rigged to start a fire, not blow up. Well, Colin Townsend has been on a mission to collect 2 Weston County license plates from every year they've been issued, 1914 to present day. 12 years into it, the Osage native finally acquired one of the holy grails of his niche collecting quest, a 1945 County 21 plate with the original wrapper. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that the rare find represents a slice of American history.
Back then, Wyoming got new license plates every year. They encouraged people to use their license plates and then give them back to the state so they could be recycled, and then the metal could be used to make ammunition to support the United States war effort. And what's really interesting about this plate is not only did the collector get the plate, he got the wrapper that went with it, detailing how Wyoming was contributing to the war effort. So the tons of agricultural products, the oil and gas, all the things that Wyoming was contributing to help the Allies win World War II.
Even with this rare find, Townsend still networks with other license plate collectors on his mission to finish the Weston County run, still enjoying the unique hobby he's taken up. And now let's take a look at today's weather with Cowboy State Daily meteorologist Don Day.
Well, the front that brought some very windy conditions to central and southern Wyoming over the weekend, and some good amounts of snow to Wyoming's western and northern mountains, well, that system is off to our east today. It's going to be kind of a windy, chilly day. Another quick-moving Pacific front is going to come in tonight and tomorrow. So there's going to be another round of snow in the high country of Wyoming. Strong winds on the plains and cool conditions and chilly wind chills. This pattern is going to stay breezy, chilly, and a bit unsettled with occasional mountain snow all the way through early Wednesday.
You can get Don's full forecast on the Cowboy State Daily website. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
Open enrollment is here. Discover a range of low-cost plans from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming. Shop now to find the best option for you. Online, in town, in touch. We're right around the corner. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming. What's your plan?
Well, they investigate bugs, learn that pulling bark hurts a tree, and swing on hammocks and drink hot chocolate. Those are part of the learning and adventure that 10 kids have found as part of a new preschool in Casper. The Discovery Depot Forest School represents a unique concept for Wyoming preschoolers, outdoor forest school learning. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck paid a visit to the unique school, which meets outside all the time, even during winter.
Seeing these little kids outside playing, having a great time, and also learning in an environment outdoors, even when it's cold out. They've got their stocking caps on, their coats on, and they're having a lot of fun. They've studied migration and hibernation with holes in the ground. And don't stick a stick in the hole because there could be a living thing in there. The philosophy behind the forest school is to get the kids curious and then build lessons on top of that.
They plan to stay in session through the school season as long as the temperature and wind chill stays above zero. The key is just having the 4- and 5-year-old students wearing the right gear. Well, the first thing that the uninitiated who've only seen guns in movies might notice about guns in real life is that they're loud, as in incredibly loud. But for some, the usual ear-busting crack and concussive wallop that firearms produce on their own just isn't enough. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that there's a new trend among die-hard gun fanatics: loudners, as in the opposite of silencers.
I saw some examples, just stuff that people have posted online, where they'll take like a funnel-like device and they'll just attach it themselves to the end of the gun to amplify the sound. And there's also a couple commercially produced loudners cars, they are designed in such a manner that they actually like pushes the noise, the flash, and the concussion of the gun to the absolute max. One manufacturer said it'll make your 223 sound like a 50 caliber. I talked to a few different gun people here in Wyoming, and they kind of had the same reaction as I did. Why would you want to do that? Apparently, it's just something people do because they can. You know how human beings are sometimes.
One firearms expert said he doesn't think that Loudners will ever catch on with Wyoming hunters and shooters, as people are trending toward using suppressors to make their guns quieter and save their hearing. Well, the danger of dynamite was well known to the men who used the explosives in their search for minerals in the remote mountains of Wyoming in the early 1900s. One cow discovered just how dangerous these sticks were after dining on them for lunch in the town of Birdseye, just a few miles north of Shoshone. It was 1907 when the cow wandered onto a mining claim, ate 19 sticks of dynamite, and exploded. Although the infamous incident happened well over 100 years ago, Cowboy State Daily's Jackie Dorothy was fascinated by the story that seemed too strange to be true, but for which she found a number of accounts.
The one story I found that was really credible, it was about this cow named Venus, beloved cow, and everyone in the town knew her. She gave the best milk. Well, she wandered into this site, picked up some dynamite. The foreman looked over and he's like, "Oh no, Venus!" And they started to try to stop her, but she took off running with the dynamite, bit down, boom. It was over for Venus.
Fortunately, reports of animals exploding from chowing down on sticks of dynamite have now, for the most part, become a thing of the past. And let's go now to Cowboy State Daily's chief videographer, Riley Strand, for our last story of the day.
I got bucked off down in Prescott.
Last week, Ned Ledoux, son of late country singer Chris Ledoux, released a father-son duet titled One Hand in the Riggin'. But before it could exist, the previously unreleased vocal track had to survive 21 years of inattention, a FedEx delivery, and the spite of outdated technology. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Chris Ledoux's vocals were recorded on an obsolete format, which left Ned's producer and songwriter unsure if the song would ever come together.
When the songwriter, Brent Hill, heard Ned Ledoux singing in February at a cowboy poetry gathering, he was like, "Oh, we should turn this into a duet." He had to FedEx the original from Utah to Nashville, and he put all these notes on the box, like, "Do not lose this." And they try to convert it, and it's all static. To hear the producer, Mac McNally, tell it, he was able to do some tricks to find the recording under all that noise, and he actually found what he called an outstanding, unheard Chris Ledoux vocal track.
According to Mac, Ned didn't acknowledge he could sing until his dad passed, even though they sound similar. That translates to a sentiment that the producer says is audible on the final product.
And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to drop in on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake Nichols, Monday through Friday from 6 to 10 a.m. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily. Cowboy State Daily is all about Wyoming. Daily features include our popular sunrise photo of the day, our daily Darwin, Same Guys Dancing, and more. You'll enjoy our regular Wyoming life features, daily video newscasts and podcasts, and frequent opinion pieces from a carefully curated collection of the state's finest columnists. All of this in addition to the core mission, providing statewide news coverage in a clear, plain manner with up-to-the-minute breaking news when and where it happens. Cowboy State Daily's collective of reporters, photographers, videographers, and editors are dedicated to quality, unbiased daily journalism here in Wyoming. Find out why Cowboy State Daily is considered Wyoming's largest and most experienced newsroom. All it takes is one visit, cowboystatedaily.com.
Photo of the day to get you started looks like this. Nice shot from Colton DeCrew. Sunrise in the Jonah Field just south of Pinedale. One of the many reasons I love the oil field, Colton said. That's a big, expansive sky. Nice shot. Don Days Weather forecast photos, setting moon on Simpson Ridge in Albany County. That's from Kendra Sims. So thank you, Colton and Kendra, for giving us some visuals to get our day started with. The day weather forecast, mostly sunny in Casper, but windy with highs around 41. 36 in Lander, sunny skies. In southwest Wyoming, Evanston, you'll be mostly cloudy in the upper 30s today. Rock Springs, clouds moving in today as well, with the highs around 33. In Kemmer, where we just heard they're going to build some modular housing, maybe. Slight chance of snow after 5, otherwise partly sunny. A little bit windy, 31 the high. Western Wyoming, Pinedale, chance of snow mainly after 5. Clouds on the increase, highs in the upper 20s. Afton, you're going to do about 32 today with a slight chance of snow and cloudy as well. Northwest Wyoming, Dubois, chance of snow, otherwise sunny, breezy. 35 the high today. Jackson, snow coming in the afternoon. It's going to be a little breezy as well with highs around 30. Bighorn Basin, Thermopolis, clouds on the increase, breezy, 37 the high. Cody, partly sunny, 37. Worland, mostly sunny and 40 today. In north central Wyoming, Buffalo, sunshine and 35. Maybe a little breezy overnight tonight. Sunny and 40 in Sheridan today. In northeast Wyoming, Gillette, sunny with the highs around 37. A few wind gusts, though. Newcastle, sunny, 36. It might be windy in Newcastle as well. Eastern Plains, Torrington, sunny, 46 degrees. Sunny and windy in Lusk with highs around 40. In southeast Wyoming, Cheyenne, sunny, 43. A little bit breezy overnight. Sunny and breezy in Laramie with highs 44. Rawlins, sunshine, but breezy conditions, highs in the upper 30s. 43 maybe in Saratoga, mostly sunny, breezy today. That's how we see it in the day weather forecast. Take a look at the weather map, show you what's going on around the state. These are the current temperatures. Let's see, 22 in Jackson. That's due to the clouds. Otherwise, it'd be colder than that, huh? 21 degrees down there in Afton, 17 in Kemmer. Up there in Powell, you're 26. We're going to talk about Powell's Brody Wells, and there's also Brody Cress. We get two Brodies from Wyoming been riding the silly out of their broncs in the NFR. We're going to talk about that. Wyoming well represented in the saddle bronc riding and national finals rodeo. 10 degrees in Thermopolis, 16 in Lander. Douglas here, 26, 25 in Laramie, and up in Gillette, it's 17 degrees, which matches your license plate number. All right. Road conditions, wind. Should I just tell you when it's not windy on I-80 down there around Laramie? It'd be a lot easier. Windy, windy, windy. Some slick conditions, though, on all the roads up there in the northeast. Slippery conditions. That's Gillette, Moorcroft, Upton, Midwest, Sundance. I mean, you were the first ones to get our kind of winter storm, and you're still going to see some snow today. Roads a little slickery. And traveling south, well, pretty much every direction out of Jackson, north, south, you're looking at slick conditions with snow down and more on the way. Yeah, that's how we see it. Let's get Greg Johnson into the Zoom room, get our day started. Greg Johnson, the only thing I got to ask you before we even get to sports on this Monday, which could be a good topic because my Bills were on a search and destroy mission. What's with the drones, dude? Everyone's talking about it. I went to some Christmas parties. Everywhere I went to the hockey game, people are like, what's with the drones? Because they know I'm in news. And I'm like, I don't know. There's drones in New Jersey.
Yeah. People, I saw over the weekend some people were reporting some, and maybe it was one in Cody, but I mean, people have drones, and so they fly them. But the ones in New Jersey are a little different. They're big, and a lot of people are seeing them. And I know something really important about him, but I'd have to kill you if I told you.
Wait a minute. Are you for reals?
No,
Don't
I'm
even
just
mess.
joking.
Yeah, don't
I
mess
don't know.
around.
I don't know. They're in New Jersey. What would I know about drones in New Jersey?
This is national security. There's something going on. If you listen to the mayor, and there is a Wyoming tie. I love the quote in the story. They seen some drones over Lance Creek, over Niobrara County. I mean, if it is a foreign entity and they're doing some surveillance, I mean, the Niobrara County, what the heck is there?
You don't know, but I mean, if it is, they're pretty bad at it.
Yeah,
flying so low where everybody could videotape them and everything. And if it's some kind of military training, I mean, why wouldn't you say something? I mean, we get that here over eastern Wyoming a lot. The training of the jets out of the Dakotas, they fly in and fly low. But I don't know. There's just somebody knows something that they're not saying. I mean, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but even Tucker Fagan. I mean, he's the dude who would know. He says, it's hard to believe that someone in the government doesn't know what's going on with these things, or doesn't have a suspicion, or involved in some way.
Yeah, especially when the government says, here's the dead giveaway. When you ask the feds or you ask the state agency, both of which New Jersey authorities did, the mayors of respective towns that are being droned, including Ryan Hurd, who made the Wyoming connection, by the way. Ryan Hurd said he's the mayor of Pequannock Township. He said, I've been a Jersey boy my whole life, and we're like you guys in Wyoming. We're not gonna, we're not gonna let drones scare us. We're not gonna let whatever the plan is, if it's nefarious, expect Jersey to fight back. That was the mayor, Ryan Hurd, and he said, just like you guys in Wyoming, like, we're not gonna take this anymore. D. Snyder.
I'm surprised that the news now isn't. There's too many people shooting at them.
Right. That's going to be the news soon. Right. Too many people lobbing lead.
New Jersey, like Wyoming, and New Jersey, everybody's packing, right? I mean,
I'm telling you, they're like, New Jersey is to New York City what Wyoming is to Colorado. Like, New York is kind of Colorado. Like, if they got invaded by drones, they would call 911 until they overloaded the lines. If New Jersey gets invaded by drones, they'd be like Wyoming. There's just going to be a lot of lead flying in the air. Every mafia gangbanger's got a gun. Like, they're just going to shoot them down. But hopefully, use shotguns, use scatter guns or something. I don't know. Mark could tell us exact caliber we ought to be using to shoot down drones. But yeah, I'm worried about copycat drones. Don't fly your drone right now at night. Unless you want to lose it. Somebody's going to.
These seem to be pretty big drones. I mean, they seem to be much different from like your average home guy, or some guy who, has their Instagram or TikTok, and they're just flying a drone up to get overhead views.
Yeah,
they seem pretty large.
These are the kind of, hefty drones that deliver packages for Amazon, right? Or deliver your groceries. These are big ones, and they're flying in formation, which we know the Chinese like to do. They like to swarm drone. I don't want to blame it on the Chinese. What the heck would they be doing over here in Niobrara County? But it's if it's not a foreign entity, here's the quotes, though, what I was getting at that I hate when you ask government, whether it's state or feds. And when New Jersey asks, you get something like, you get deflection, you get denial of any of their existence. Like, they don't even play along with you. They're like, no, there's nothing to see here. One of those deals. They say, in the same breath, when they tell you it's nothing, like, no, it's not anything that we're doing or that we know of, but there's no reason to worry. That's when you start worrying. If you don't know what they are, how can you say you're not worried? You know what they are. Anyway.
Yeah, if they have to tell you not to worry.
Right. How do they know not to worry?
That's the time to worry.
Exactly. That's what Mikowski said. I'm gonna flesh out this whole New Jersey drone thing because there have been some drones spotted over Wyoming. So we're gonna Wyomingize the story. Other than the connection between Jersey and Wyoming, neither of us are gonna take any crap from drones. Just try it.
Maybe shoot them down with guns outfitted with Loudoners.
F around and find out. Yeah, we're gonna put we put Loudoners on our guns here in Wyoming. That's crazy. Guns are loud enough, except for sometimes you're 22. If you got a long range 22 rifle, a long barrel, they kind of sound weak. They sound like a BB gun. Psh, like, aw.
Why do you need it to sound louder? That's the thing. It's like someone who's got like the little cracker box car that they deliberately
yes
to sound like it's a Hemi or something.
Yeah, I find a lot of the
compensating for something there.
A lot of the Mexican community does it here in Jackson. It's not only them, but yeah, they get these little four bangers, and they, in the old days we just poked holes in the muffler. Like, oh, doesn't that sound bad? And now, yeah, these little four bangers are outfitted with kits that make them sound like rumbly, like they're actually something. I don't know.
The electric muscle cars, the electric Mustang, the electric Dodge Charger, they have like a speaker.
Oh,
and it will give the sound of the gas engine coming
no
the car through the speaker.
For reals? I didn't even know there was such a thing. Oh,
absolutely.
Well, that's so,
because that's one of the big complaints was that that's the thing. That's what makes it a muscle car.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, you can turn on and off the muscle.
OMG. You got your Dodge Charger EV and you needed to play in stereo the sound of what a Dodge Charger used to sound like in the 70s. Oh my goodness. And you probably can't peel out on there. There's technology that keeps you from spinning wheels, so similar to ABS, the braking system. There's probably tech that keeps you from like peeling out, like the car won't let you spin wheels. This is the nanny state we've become when our muscle cars are fake. No wonder we're being attacked by drones. We deserve it. A nation that's sissified itself, going from burning gas to the Hemi engine, and now we're just we're dialing up sound effects to make our car sound tough, and we're loudening our guns.
I tell you what, you're talking about sissifying and stuff. You see Dale's story on the winter outdoor thing?
Yeah, it gives me hope.
I swear to you, I put this in our Slack channel to Dale because this is the headline. Of course, we wouldn't put this headline on it, but I could tell you on the show.
Yeah.
The headline I thought of it should be Wyoming ain't raising no wussies.
Yes. I love it. I have hope in the next generation. There's a Casper preschool that's holding class outdoors. And, and people are like, oh, what if it snows? They love it. They're like, more snow, the kids say. We love snow. They got their big five on.
Indoors if it gets below zero, but otherwise, yeah, stay outside. They don't have devices. And it's the preschool, and they say it teaches resilience, which is, the nice way of saying, we're not raising wussies in this preschool.
Yeah, totally. My wife teaches first grade, and one of the things she talks about is, in the last few years, I don't know, let's say since COVID, I'm trying to date things and I always come back to COVID. I don't know why, but like since then, she's noticed more and more kids like claim to be injured or hurt, like, oh, I need a Band-Aid. And she looks at it and she's like, I don't even see anything there. Like, they always think they're hurt. They always think they're in need of some great, I got to visit the school nurse. No, you don't. Unless you're, prove it by vomiting on the floor that you need, And these kids are like the opposite. Like they would get a little cut on the seesaw and be like, whatever, there's soldier on. I know. I love that story. Great. We're going to talk to Dale in the 9 o'clock hour and find out a little bit more about these tough kids that are just eating tree bark for lunch and they're outdoor schooling.
Talk about the tough kids, man. You had a great story. Rocky.
Yeah.
Training in Jackson Hole.
Dang.
They didn't hide it either, man. The Tetons are smack dab there. You can notice them right away.
They don't get tougher than Rocky. Rocky 4, which, I've only seen, I don't even know if I've seen a whole Rocky, but I think I saw, the first one when he rises up out of the Philadelphia streets, but I've never seen one after that. But I know of them. I know the premise. Rocky 4, he fights, the Russian machine.
They all have the iconic training montage.
Yeah.
That's what it is. In Rocky 3, it was accompanied by Eye of the Tiger, which, was a huge hit for Survivor. And that's where he finds himself, where he gets over whatever is keeping him from fighting his best, and he trains.
And there's every upcoming big boxing match, every upcoming fight has motivation for Rocky Balboa, whatever he needs to reach deep in himself and find whatever that motivation is. In the beginning, it's, nobody knew him, nobody believed in him. But by Rocky 4, he's a name. And he gets a little sloppy with his boxing. Suddenly, he's not the young upstart that's preparing for his fights. He's living large, and he doesn't take it seriously until he finds out, hey, you're not the best.
Well, Drago kills his best friend.
Yeah,
in the ring. It's kills Apollo Creed.
Yep. So he goes back to old school training. He goes to this Siberian wilderness in the winter, where he just does farm chores. He does stuff like his average day is like a Star Valley ranch kid is like, big deal. I do that every day, and then I got to go to school. That's right. I got 2 hours of that in the morning, and then Dad said, get on the bus, and then when I get home, I got 3 more hours of that, and I'm not even training for a fight. That's everybody in Star Valley, everybody in Wyoming, on all these ranch kids. He's just doing ranch chores.
A little known fact, Jake, is all of that footage wasn't really Sylvester Stallone. It was documentary footage of Rulon Gardner just doing his daily thing. Won the gold medal there.
Rulon Gardner. That guy, we got to get him on the show one time. I don't think he could fit in the screen. He's big. He's a big dude.
Yeah. I'll see what I could do. I got his number.
Yeah, tell Rulon we need him on here.
I talked to him a couple of years ago when he was wanting to come back. So he's got a story. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, talking about the American defeating the unbeatable Russian.
Yeah,
I mean, there you go.
Yeah. The unbeatable Russian machine. He's Rocky 4. That's what he is.
Real life Rocky. Yep, for sure. And had his own brush with death. In the wilds, in nature, his snow machine broke down, and he had to hike up over the salt mountains, and
I think he lost a couple toes or something.
Yeah, which for a Roman Greco wrestler, you're not on your feet for very long. You don't need to worry about that. Pretty soon you are down there wrestling it out. It was cool though to hear Rocky talk about his experience in Jackson, experience with snow, and what it was like to shoot that movie. It's pretty neat. What else is happening? They arrested that dude. Upton, you can breathe easier. We know who planted that bomb. We're not sure of an intent yet. Maybe to just start a big fire, but we have a suspect in custody, David Riggle, and maybe he can explain what he was thinking. But that was a bomb that could have gone off in Upton.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a scary thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
And finds this homemade propane bomb.
Yeah, and
it was like a 100-gallon tank. You know, it wasn't like your home barbecue grill. Probably something that they had. I mean, I'm just guessing here, but I mean, if it's an oil field service company and this is in a tool shed, probably something that they had, you know, for, you know, some of their tools or whatever. But, you know, that's going to be interesting to follow that, to see what the possible motive could have been.
Yeah. I mean, 100-pound propane tank, that makes a little bit of, you wouldn't need a Loudner on it when it went off. That'd make a little bit of a boom. I don't know.
And did you see that he didn't have a high bond because the judge apparently said he wasn't a threat to the community?
That's what I was going to ask you. It's not like he's a transient with a chip on his shoulder about the oil company. Like, he's been in Upton for a little while. People know him, and that's why the judge said, well, hold on, he's known in the community. He's not going to run away. So, okay.
Yeah, that was the Weston County Gazette reported that apparently I think they were there at the Friday hearing, or heard about what happened at that Friday hearing, and you know, they reported it. So you know, give them credit for getting that. But yeah, that's, you know, it's pretty scary, you know, to think of what could have happened, you know, whether it exploded or started a fire, or, you know, either way, that's that's not something you want having anywhere.
No, it doesn't take much to blow Upton off the map. 100-pound propane tank ought to do it. I say this knowing one of our staunch followers is from Upton, so, you know, I'm just teasing you. I hope nobody blows you up. Renee Jean had a couple of cool stories. What are economists suggesting you might want to stock up on if President Trump follows through with some of these harsh tariffs he's talking about, if he's going to make it harder to get imported stuff, if he wants to spur our economy doing that? Those costs, those tariffs are probably going to get passed along to the consumer, and you might want to stock up on some items now, maybe. Renee Jean asked some top economists what those things are, and would they include toilet paper? Do we have to worry about that again?
Yeah, the answer is no.
Oh, darn. Yeah, spoiler alert.
And it's interesting, that's the first thing people want to stock up on.
I know.
It's not like diabetics getting their insulin. It's not you know, it's not that. It's always
the
toilet paper. And right now, I don't know why. I was just seeing online this morning photos and videos of people at Costco with huge carts full of eggs. They're buying all the. I don't know why. I don't know what's up with that at Costco, but
people it's hard to figure people out when they're panicking. What the whole toilet paper thing escaped, and like, I could understand some preppers that you know, they make a rush on MREs, and suddenly everybody wants like prepared food that can stay stored for 10 years, 50 years. I could see a rush on that stuff, but that's to survive. Like, that's to eat. Toilet paper is just a convenience. Now, it is a big
it is a convenience, but yeah, you don't want to be without it.
It's it's a convenience we enjoy, because I saw like medieval times pre-toilet paper, and they would wipe with a community sponge soaked in vinegar. I'm like, oh, geez, no wonder we're hoarding toilet paper. I don't want to go back to that. Are you done? Are you done with the vinegar wipe? Yeah, pass that over here. Oh, God. No, that's a hard no. Renee's other story included Kemmer is expecting a little bit of a boom there in residents, especially when they get that terra firma plant going. And there's one company that builds modules that say, hey, it's not your grandfather's module. I think we all understand that now, or or not, Greg? I know there's lots of good quality modular home builders in our area in the West. There's a bunch of them out there. I don't think these are the modular homes you're thinking about when you think about trailer parks.
No, yeah.
They're well built.
Well, yeah, well, and I think a lot of them, just depending on what you want, but I think a lot of them are like some of them they're like tiny homes, because you can get a whole, for lack of a better word, a whole brick of them, a whole block
Yeah.
of them, and Kemmer's going to need thousands of workers to do all this stuff, but they don't need thousands of workers after it's built. So that's the thing. I mean, what you're looking for is housing for the workers to build this stuff. After they're gone, that's the thing. Do you build up huge residential neighborhoods just to have them vacant a few years after you're done? So that's some stuff they got to ask each other in planning for this stuff.
Something better than dormitory style, junky homes and a real family 2-story, 4-bedroom, 3-bath home. Something between there, I think, is what this company offers. Some decent housing. These modulars now, I've seen them where you wouldn't know they were modulars, number one. And when they fashion them together, the ones that are not the tiny homes, when they put them all together, I mean, and they use high-end finishing touches like a Viking stove in these modular homes. Like, they are tricked out, some of them. So I don't think the builders, I don't think construction people of these modular homes should have to live under that stigma anymore. And Renee Jean found a little bit of resistance from Kemmer and city building officials about these modulars, but we'll see how it goes. It just reminds me of the old railroad days when you had a lot of temporary workers that were at the end of the rail, and then it would move on to the next tent town. First thing we've learned if you learn anything from history, we need modular homes, and we're going to need a dance hall or 2 or 3. We need lots of saloons.
Yeah. Well, that would be Laramie, right? I understand just about every building in downtown Laramie there at one point or another was a brothel. I'm not saying it still is. Apparently, it was when it was the center of the railroad, and they had the prison there. And yeah, I think it was a pretty wild place.
At Cowboy State Daily, we love profiles of people that are important to us, important to the state. We're remembering Luke Bell, singer-songwriter, who was on the upshoot of a career. He was really starting to take off, but he struggled from the time his father died, and maybe even before that. He really struggled with mental health issues. He was diagnosed schizophrenia, bipolar 2. He just battled his life, but, even his mom saw he wasn't the same Luke Bell after a while. And then, we didn't have Cody's Luke Bell much longer. But we do have a Wyoming PBS series to remember him by. We have Amber with a great story about Luke Bell and why this guy coulda, shoulda been another Chris Ledoux. He just couldn't get there. And then Jackie Dorothy's story of Willie LeClaire, the Eastern Shoshone spiritual leader, tribal member. Everybody in the state has a story about Willie LeClaire. I think there's nobody who didn't know him. What a cool guy.
Yeah, totally. Putting that together, I was looking up some of those, some of his instructional video, or not his storytelling videos. He'd tell these Shoshone stories with the sign language that he called hand talk, and he was, it was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
it was really cool. Those are definitely worth looking up on YouTube and checking out.
Governor Gordon says, the more you knew him, the more you got to see his wicked sense of humor. The quote from Governor Gordon. Yeah, he's Pretty cool, dude. These just people that you should know, and if you didn't know them, we love to kind of recreate their life for you at Cowboy State Daily. What happens if nuclear war breaks out? You know, we're bristling with China. We got Russia that maybe is our friend or not. We got North Korea that's nobody's friend. If the nukes start flying, how safe is it to be in Wyoming? Mark Hines has that story. They'll probably come after the silos in Cheyenne, right, Greg?
FEMA kind of put out this map about what the map was is like where it would be the safest, or to build homes away from where expected nuclear, where like the first 2,000 nukes would hit. Jackson's pretty bare up there. I think some people would be okay with Jackson getting hit first, but they're pretty bare. But yeah, the Cheyenne and that whole area there is just it would be vaporized. I mean,
it's interesting. Yeah, if the nukes started flying and here they come to the U.S., where are they headed? Washington D.C. and then out west we wonder where are you safe? Like desolate areas of South Dakota where nobody goes, maybe. Places in Wyoming that are hard to get to that nobody knows about, perhaps, as long as you stay away from Cheyenne, because Cheyenne's one of the places is going to be launching warheads back from the place they came, and it looks like it would be heavily targeted, according to this FEMA map. Mark Hines has that story. If you're thinking about a side hustle, schlepping food to hungry folks, DoorDash. You got DoorDash where you are. I've never lived anywhere where I had DoorDash, but I could see the advantages of not having to go out for food.
There is DoorDash. It really exploded during the pandemic with, it caught up with where the market was going. People want the delivery. They gripe about the cost. And it's like, you're paying for that convenience. You don't have to go out and do it. And someone else is bringing it to you. If you don't like it, then go get it yourself. It's pretty simple. But it's kind of a thankless thing. People gripe at you, they cuss you out, they stiff you. And someone in the comments was saying, well, tipping isn't required, so it's not really getting stiff. Well, that's the nomenclature. You don't get tipped; it's known as getting stiff. Or they have, I think they have a feature where you can put in, because you put in what the tip is going to be, and the DoorDasher can see what the tip is, and then I think afterwards you can pull it back.
Oh, yeah.
That's not cool. If you say you're going to tip something, then that's what you should do.
Renee Jean has the story headlined, "Get Cussed Out, Belittled, Stiffed on Tips. Welcome to the world of a dasher." DoorDash. So you want that side hustle, huh? Think about it. Some make it to a platinum level driver, and I guess they have a little more control over when they work. But if you're just starting out with DoorDash, you got to be ready to roll at any time and bring people their McD's. What else in the news looks exciting for you? We had a big weekend.
A lot of good stuff. I like that. I like that Borland guy who is restoring all those old gas pumps. Finds them and restores. Those are really cool.
That looked pretty neat. It all started when he was driving by and saw one just kind of melting into the landscape. It was overtaken by weeds. He's like, that's a neat little thing. He restores them to how they would have looked back in the day, these old gas pumps.
Yes. Yeah, and sometimes he modifies them. So that's kind of cool too.
If we keep going where we're going, they will truly be relics. I mean, they're already relics because they're old, but they essentially serve the same purpose. They inject our vehicles with the go-go juice, but if we all go, if it's the future and we're all driving around in Elon Musk world, they're really going to look like relics.
Yeah, can you imagine in 100 years, someone's finding an old Tesla supercharger and that they'd be fixing it up?
Yeah, yeah. Even those will be old.
Display. But I don't think that's the thing. These EVs and stuff, in 30 or 40 years, I mean, are you going to want to get them and fix them up and show them as classic cars? And so I just don't know that they have that kind of cachet,
Right. I don't know they do
aside
either.
from being a curiosity, someone will show a Cybertruck in 50 years.
Yeah.
That's a curiosity, but I don't think as, wow, check out that cherry Mustang type of,
right.
Check out that cherry Dodge Neon there. I just don't see it.
But everybody says that, Everybody says that of their stuff. They're like, nobody's ever going to value or treasure this. And you don't appreciate it in your time. It's not till later when, your grandkids say, oh, you boomers, you sucked at this and this and this. But you know what? Your bell-bottom jeans are so cool. If you had any of those in the attic, you know what you could get for those at a thrift shop.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just hard to envision a car show with that. I mean, one of the greatest part of the car show is that they got the hood up and you can look at that engine. What are they going to do? Put up their fronts and you can just look at the front trunk space at there because you can't look at the engine.
No, you look at the engine, you're like, look at that battery, man. Oh, exactly. they didn't make batteries like that anymore. That's one of them H5 batteries. Oh, that's yeah, I know. That's have you seen that meme with side by side? There's a photograph of the Cybertruck, and then it's next to a coal car from like a Chinese coal car from the 1930s, and they're the same shape, like they look exactly the same. Only the coal car is a little more rusted out. Yeah.
We'd be remiss. You'll have to talk to her about it tomorrow. The DB Cooper.
Yeah.
Another installment of the DB Cooper saga. Jen's all over that.
Yeah. We're going to talk to Jen tomorrow about that DB Cooper 3, another follow-up story. And seriously, our writer, Cowboy State Daily's Jen, we got to claim her right now. She's ours, Cowboy State Daily, Jen Coker. She broke this story. And this story is more than just breaking news. It is creating news. And suddenly there's a resurgence in the investigation and maybe leading investigators down a path that they might have seen or known before. But Jen did a lot of legwork for them. And I don't wonder if we have a total resolution here pretty soon on who DB Cooper was.
That's right. And we got an exploding cow, Jake. That's
yeah.
That's just great. 19 sticks of dynamite and exploded.
It reminds me of the Andy Griffith episode when the goat eats and they're like, be careful, be gentle with him. Yeah. Oh, Bessie, don't aggravate Bessie right now. She's got 19 sticks of dynamite in her gut. Passing through 5 stomachs, right? Don't the cows have a lot of stomachs?
I think so. But yeah, they got a lot of stomachs, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're known for putting out all that methane, right? So
yeah. Well,
maybe that's what someone in Upton did, is they just rigged up a cow to explode.
I was going to mash all our stories together. Yeah, the cow Loudner exploding in Upton. All the stories will come together in one convenient story.
But I love the quote. It says, "What hurts is that we had to pay $45 for the cow."
Yeah. 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 No, they didn't reminisce the cow for too long. There was not a lot of moo mourning going on. Not a lot of, yeah. That's costly when cows blow up. All right, Greg. Thanks so much for teeing up our morning stories. Oh, and your Broncos, they won, right?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
They did. Yeah, it was a great game. Colts, man, boy, that dude dropping the ball right before he crossed the goal line.
Oh, is that the game? I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then
man.
the pick six, that was just, anyway, yes. Broncos, they got 9 wins. They're in the playoffs. It looks like not much to keep them out at this point. So
yeah,
and Travis Hunter won the Heisman.
I don't like that. I'll talk to Sally Ann at 8:30 and see if she likes it. It's hard for Sally Ann to back anybody that comes out of Boise, but I think Genty got ripped off. There hasn't been a running back that has done what he's done. Only one other guy has put up the kind of numbers he's put up. And when you take that Hunter, when you take his stats as just an offensive wide receiver, he's like, okay. You take his stats as just a DB. He's like,
he's one of the best receivers in the nation and one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, playing every down.
It's a gimmick.
It's unheard of. It really is.
It's unheard of. It's gimmicky. It's like
it's gimmicky if you're not at an elite level at both positions.
I don't know that he's elite. I think he's very good wide receiver and an average DB. I think it's like a guy coming out and being unique. He's not going to wear a face mask for a season, and that I should be at Heisman. I don't wear a face mask. He plays
every time the defense is on the field, Austin Gentry is just sitting on the bench, relaxing.
Because the guy's exhausted. Nothing. He's run for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns again. He's
great. I wouldn't. Hey, you know what? CU's my place. CU guy got the Heisman. I'm not going to. I'm not going to apologize for that at all.
Yeah, I know. Expected no less. But exciting times in Denver because I think the most important thing is you finally found your quarterback. It's been like 10 years you've been looking for that guy. I think Bo Nix is that guy.
Yeah. It's nice. It's nice not to dread every Sunday.
Mm-hmm. All right, buddy. We're going to bounce. We're going to hit the news here. Thanks so much.
All right. See you later.
Have a great Monday. That's Greg Johnson, Cowboy State Daily managing editor, and he was super busy over the weekend putting together our stories, weekend stories. We're just barely getting to them, but good thing we got another 3 hours to go. Wendy Core with the top of the hour news here.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Monday, December 16th. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Wendy Core. With multiple large industrial projects incoming to the Kemmerer area, a huge housing crunch is looming. It's estimated that between 3,500 to 6,000 new workers are on their way to the area, along with their families, which would more than double Kemmerer's present population, which is around 2,500. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that one solution that's getting some attention would be modular homes from a Colorado-based company called Fading West.
Modular homes, which have been much maligned in the past, may be a solution for Wyoming's housing crunch in Kemmerer. And one of the companies that does this is called Fading West. According to the company, you would not know the difference if you walked through one of these between a stick-built house and their process. They overbuild them on purpose to fight that stigma that modular homes have in Kemmerer. They're looking at between 3,500 to 6,000 new permanent employees in the area with their families. They need a housing solution that will work.
Fading West has just returned from Maui, where they recently delivered more than 80 new high-quality factory-built homes in 2 months flat. A 39-year-old Upton man has been arrested and accused of planting a homemade propane bomb in the tool shed of a Wyoming oil field company in northeast Wyoming. David Riggle remains in the Weston County Detention Center Saturday, held on suspicion of possession of explosives. The jail confirmed to Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson that Riggle is being held on a $10,000 bond.
They gathered some evidence right away. The sheriff in Weston County said that they got some possible fingerprints. He was confident 11 days ago when it happened that they would find someone, and they did. Apparently, the suspect had been in Upton for a while. What was interesting is that the judge didn't go for a $100,000 bond like the prosecutor asked, went with just a $10,000 bond, saying that it wasn't clear that this guy was a danger to the community.
While there was potential for an explosion, the sheriff said that a preliminary inspection of the propane bomb showed it appeared to be rigged to start a fire, not blow up. Well, last week, Ned Ledoux, son of late country singer Chris Ledoux, released a father-son duet titled One Hand in the Riggin'. But before it could exist, the previously unreleased vocal track had to survive 21 years of inattention, a FedEx delivery, and the spite of outdated technology. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Chris Ledoux's vocals were recorded on an obsolete format, which left Ned's producer and songwriter unsure if the song would ever come together.
When the songwriter, Brent Hill, heard Ned Ledoux singing in February at a cowboy poetry gathering, he was like, oh, we should turn this into a duet. He had to FedEx the original from Utah to Nashville, and he put all these notes on the box, like, do not lose this. And they try to convert it, and it's all static. To hear the producer, Mac McNally, tell it, he was able to do some tricks to find the recording under all that noise, and he actually found what he called an outstanding, unheard Chris Ledoux vocal track.
According to Mac, Ned didn't acknowledge he could sing until his dad passed, even though they sound similar. That translates to a sentiment that the producer says is audible on the final product. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Are you fabulous at 55? Are you ready to use your valuable time and talent to give back? Join Serve Wyoming through the AmeriCorps Seniors Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, or RSVP, and make a positive impact on your community. With a lifetime of skills and experiences, you're exactly what your community needs. Whether you're itching to lend a hand or your organization could use some extra support, we've got you covered. Call Sarah Roberts at Serve Wyoming at 307-234-3428 or RSVP at servewyoming.org.
Colin Townsend has been on a mission to collect 2 Weston County license plates from every year they've been issued, 1914 to present day. 12 years into it, the Osage native finally acquired one of the holy grails of his niche collecting quest, a 1945 County 21 plate with the original wrapper. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that the rare find represents a slice of American history.
Not only did the collector get the plate, he got the wrapper that went with it, detailing how Wyoming was contributing to the war effort. So the tons of agricultural products, the oil and gas, all the things that Wyoming was contributing to help the Allies win World War II.
Even with this rare find, Townsend still networks with other license plate collectors on his mission to finish the Weston County run, still enjoying the unique hobby he's taken up. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.
Cowboy State Daily Morning Show back with Jake 707 on this Monday. I'm a little bit behind this morning trying to catch up to the weekend stories, but I will. I can. Must do. We got Facebook comments from some folks that say, God bless Chris and Ned Ledoux. Amen. You know it. Who was that said that? Brandon. You're right. Chris and Ned Ledoux. I remember I've seen Chris Ledoux a couple times in concert. Saw him open for Dwight Yoakam. That was the greatest show ever. Yeah, Chris Ledoux. Ned's not quite Chris. Will never be another, but he's pretty good stand-in sounds a lot like him. And the new song, I Still Have It. I listen to it all the time. One Hand in the Riggin'. Great story about how it came to be. Claire McFarland.
I got bucked off down in Prescott, and I've been driving half the night.
Just to hear that voice again, man, takes it right back to when America was great. Back to when Wyoming was great. And we didn't have to worry about outside influences, drones, all the bad things that are happening. It seemed like no bad things happened. Whenever you reminisce old times, right? Didn't it seem like nothing bad happened? All the bad things are happening now. Things like, I don't even want to do bad stories. I only want to do happy stories right now. Modular home company that helped Maui after those wildfires could help ease Kemmer's housing crunch. Renee Jean has this story about this Colorado-based Fading West. Let me share the photo with you. That's what it looks like. These guys are putting down some modulars. This is, as Renee Jean explains, the bulk of this story is just trying to educate readers who are not aware of what today's modular home is. When you think about stick-built and was everything old better, have you seen those? Hold on, let me show you a few more photos. That's Fading West dropping a unit down onto the ground. And, it even comes with a movie. Maybe I'll play a movie and we'll just, let that go. Let the teacher take a break. That's like when the film strip projector came out or the movie thing came out in class. Remember that? Students love it. Teachers love it. What's not to love when the teacher rolls out into the classroom? This is going to go back. This will date me, but back before technology, kids, when we were in grade school, every once in a while, the teacher would roll out the overhead projector. Now, that one sucked. Oh, whenever you saw the overhead projector, you knew you were in for something like algebra because the teacher had to show you how you carry the two and, it might be long division. It was basically, the high-tech version of a chalkboard. When you became too good for the chalkboard as a teacher, I'm not picking up that dirty chalk and getting all dusty and having to erase it. Molly, will you come up here and erase this for the teacher? And then you couldn't find chalk anymore. And sometimes the chalkboard, those old slate boards, it would be like computer screens. They would have a burn-in image after a while. No amount of erasing could erase the 400 times Jimmy had to promise he would sit on his hands and stop throwing spitballs at Lucy. So our high-tech version of the chalkboard was the overhead projector. And that thing's, if you sat near it, it was really hot, the bulb. And a fan to cool the bulb was noisy. And the overhead projector just, if I see one today, I fall right into a coma. I fall right to sleep. If someone rolls out the overhead projector, I just go right back to my third grade days. There's the overhead projector. If I ever have trouble sleeping, some people count sheep, some people read a book. I just wheel in the overhead projector into the bedroom. Out in 30 seconds. But why am I talking about that? Oh yeah, the film projector, the movie. Every once in a while, the teacher would just need a morning off, and you could tell the teacher would look like it'd be Monday morning, And she would look like whatever happened over the weekend was still happening. She wasn't quite over it yet. So into the room comes the film projector with like the old reels, just like they reel them up at the movie theater back before whatever, you know, they're probably all digital now. But we had the old reel to reel. And you would crank that thing up. Do I have a sound effect of a film projector? Probably not. Yeah, I don't think I do. And we would watch some educational PBS thing on, you know, the hyena of the great African wild. And this basically allow the teacher to be able to go down to the lounge, teacher's lounge, and suck down caffeine as fast as she could to revive herself for the afternoon. She was not ready to deal with us lunatics on a Monday morning. So out comes the film projector. And of course, the film projector at first try, nobody could remember how to use it. The teacher she probably got a tutorial when she first hired on, but that was a long time ago, and it's Monday morning, and she can't even barely fight. She like lines it up, gets it going, and then it gets stuck or something happens. And there's always like an AV nerd at any grade, 3rd grade, 5th grade. There's always some kid who can tinker and figure it out. He's probably some ranch kid that can figure out how to fix the irrigation system when it breaks. Just give him some baling wire and some duct tape, and he's going to have that projector. He will have anything fixed. So, yeah, the thing conks out inevitably in the first minute, and then some AV whiz has to get in there and fix it. And then the teacher's got like 45 minutes to get down to the lounge, smoke a cigarette, and drink some coffee. So that all this, because I see this story has a video element, and I feel like just pressing play and going to visit my coffee pot. But I must rise above. I'll strive to be better than today's teachers who have got it awful easy, huh? Oh. Yeah. So in Kemmerer, they're expecting a housing boom, and much of it is tied to terra firma coming to town, Bill Gates' idea to make a nuke plant. And notice how we couch these nuclear plants now. You can't just call them a nuke plant because everybody gets nervous. Everybody of my age, all the boomers and OGs are like, oh, a nuclear plant? I thought we're against those. Can't they blow up? Didn't one almost destroy Russia? You can't even go back in there except for the dogs, right? What was that nuke plant that blew up in Siberia and all the humans had to leave, but meanwhile they left their dogs behind? Now you go back in there decades later and all the dogs have 8 legs. And Chernobyl. Yeah, you go back there now and all the animals have like 2 heads, 8 legs. What have we created? So now nobody, between Chernobyl and the one that melted down in 3 Mile Island, we had one melt down in Pennsylvania, right? Okay. This is, again, history according to Jake, his fading memory of history. All right, so we've had a couple of We've had a couple of oops moments with nukes. So you can't just say we're putting a nuke plant in Kemmerer. Everybody would panic. It's hard to panic everybody in Uinta County. First, you got to make them all aware. Hey, a nuke plant's coming. But Bill Gates has carefully called this some kind of different nuclear power. We can ask Renee exactly how it works. Neutronium. I mean, it's going to operate different. It's high tech, but it's going to bring a lot of jobs, especially in the initial build to Kemmerer. An estimate between 3,500 and 6,000 new workers are already on their way to the area, along with their families. Kemmerer's present population, 2,500. And if you've been to Kemmerer, it's hard to find that many people. You wonder, where are they all? 2,500. Kemmerer's small. Kemmerer is so small, they don't even have a town square. They have a town triangle. That's the joke, right? If you ever been to Kemmerer. its claim to fame, obviously, it's the J.C. Penney headquarters, where the first J.C. Penney's was, right there on the town triangle. Kemmer's so small. How small is it? It's got a town triangle. It can't even afford the fourth side of its town square as a town triangle. So, yeah, there's not many people in Kemmer and not much existing infrastructure and housing. So, Canyon Road Development is one of the companies looking to build housing in Kemmer. And perhaps the solution, according to Canyon Road, is using modular homes built by this Colorado company called Fading West. And those two in cooperation are trying to convince Kemmer officials that modular homes work for a lot of different reasons. They can get them up quicker. They can get a stick-built house built. That's the biggest thing. You need to build some stuff fast here. Before we talk about quality, let's talk about speed. And the president of the company, the Chief Business Development Officer, Eric Schaefer, was talking about these modular homes, and he said they're built to a higher quality. We'll talk about that in a minute, but he said they're built using an assembly line kind of idea. We've set it up almost like a car factory, Schaefer said. There's between 18 and 20 stations. The homes move from station to station every 4 hours, so we can build an entire home in 7 or 8 days. So speed is of the essence when you're talking about a population expecting to double practically overnight. And, of course, we want to make sure this isn't some junky situation. They got to be decent. And these homes built to the same standards as any stick-built house, according to Fading West CBDO Eric Schaefer. Sometimes even more so, because we're fighting this stigma that modular homes are not of quality. So we purposely go over quality. And they're trying to explain this to Kemmer officials, and maybe this is the solution to the expected housing boom in Kemmer. Renee Jean has the story. She talks more about it.
With multiple large industrial projects coming into the Kemmerer area, a huge housing crunch is looming. It's estimated that between 3,500 to 6,000 new workers are on their way to the area, along with their families, which would more than double Kemmerer's present population, which is around 2,500. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that one solution that's getting some attention would be modular homes from a Colorado-based company called Fading West.
Modular homes, which have been much maligned in the past, may be a solution for Wyoming's housing crunch in Kemmerer. And one of the companies that does this is called Fading West. According to the company, you would not know the difference if you walked through one of these between a stick-built house and their process. They overbuild them on purpose to fight that stigma that modular homes have in Kemmerer. They're looking at between 3,500 to 6,000 new permanent employees in the area with their families. They need a housing solution that will work.
Fading West has just returned from Maui, where they recently delivered more than 80 new high-quality factory-built homes in 2 months flat.
All right. We'll talk more about the housing crunch coming to Kemmer and the proposed solution, maybe modular homes, right after we check in with our weather guy, Don Day. Day weather forecast for today. But we got a little bit of snow over the weekend, but you told us it was coming, Don, and more on the way for most of us. Here, another second pulse, whatever you call them. What's coming?
Well, that's certainly going to be the case for northwestern and western Wyoming, which the Jacksonville ski area, 23 inches of snow over the weekend.
Woo!
And there's more winter weather advisories in effect for Wyoming's western mountains and valleys. We also got a little snow yesterday and last night in the northeast part of the state over towards Lusk near Douglas, just a little bit of snow. This pattern we're in is what I call a skier's pattern. This is where
The snow is going to continue to fall in the mountains. Tonight and Tuesday, all of Wyoming's mountain ranges will get another shot of snow. But once you get off the mountains, once you get out of the western valleys, you're really not going to see much from these fronts other than a few snow showers. But it's one of these situations a lot of people like. I want to go to the mountains and play in the snow, but I don't necessarily want to get it off my driveway. And that's kind of where we're going to be for not all of the state, but the majority of the state this week. And as we get into the Christmas week, it does look like the weather's going to get a bit more busy with these Pacific waves coming through.
Ooh, I want to talk about that in a second. But why is it? You're right. Skiers kind of snow day because the valley floor is staying relatively clean, so we can get to the mountain. But the mountains are getting it. But it's not a case of, it's rain in the valley, snow up in the mountain. It's not temperature that's doing that necessarily. How does the snow know where to go?
It's all about wind direction and the terrain and what side of the mountain you're on. Because when we get these Pacific waves, generally speaking, the airflow is from a west to east direction, which is great for the mountains because that west-east direction brings that Pacific moisture. It goes up the mountains, produces the snow. But it's what happens after the wind and the weather systems go east to the mountains. Because east of the mountains, two things happen. The air sinks. When the air sinks, it gets drier and warmer. So just east of the mountain ranges, that happens. And also, the mountains, we were joking about the mountains are like the IRS. It just takes moisture away. And so once you get east of the mountain ranges, the air sinks and gets warmer. And that's one reason why it gets so windy in this type of pattern on the plains, but you lose the moisture and the air gets drier as it goes downhill. For places east of the mountains, you need the wind direction to be different. You need to have what we call upslope, to where the wind is going to come and go uphill on the plains instead of downhill. So that's why this pattern is really good for the mountains, but don't expect much on the plains.
Interesting. Yeah, if you're sitting there in Sheridan and Buffalo and you're just east of the Bighorns, right, you just watch it snow up there, you say, oh, that's perfect. And the city street plow can take a break. All right, that's cool. I like that. And I know it's looking way ahead, but a lot of folks have travel plans for that Christmas week. And I just like to know we're not doing one of those deep freezes where we're way below zero, but we're going to be a little snowier. What's happening? It's what you see right now that far ahead.
Yeah, it's too early to get really specific with the details. But one thing I don't see is I don't see a polar deep freeze. I don't see the Polar Express
Good
Christmas week. But what I do see is the Pacific really churning out a lot of frontal systems. We're kind of seeing that now. Now, there's a slight pause in the action Wednesday through Saturday. There's just a couple of weak waves. But once we get into Sunday and once we get into Christmas week, into New Year's, we're going to have several Pacific fronts, and they're going to go coast to coast. So it's not going to be Arctic, but these Pacific waves are going to cause plenty of weather as they traverse the country, especially the northern half of the country. And that's going to cause some travel concerns. So when it comes to travel weather, starting Sunday into next week, we'll certainly have some things to talk about, Jake, in terms of helping folks plan their travel.
Let's keep an eye on it as the week goes. Yeah, good point. Thanks, Don. Appreciate it. Have a great Monday.
You.
Day weather forecast. Yeah, a little just pulses. I like when we get a little surge and then a break. Because, yeah, you can get out and, either deal with the snow or play in the snow. For a lot of people, it's, oh, look at this pulse of weather, and then let's grab the skis and head into the mountains. And then for some of it, look at this pulse of weather, get the shovel and the snowblower, and then you need a little bit of a break, and then we'll have another pulse. All right, so the Pacific Ocean is giving us pulses. I could deal with that. Maybe more of that. With a little more industrial strength as we move into Christmas week next week. But that's looming out a little far ahead. For today, though, and tomorrow, I know in western Wyoming, where I am, expect another round of snow. We got hit pretty good. The ski resorts are all happy. And even down on the valley floor, we got pretty good amounts, 6 to 8 inches throughout Teton County, with maybe double that in the mountains, triple that. I mean, they got a lot. They were counting it in feet up there in resort. So that's good news. We really get the lifts cranking. I know we had Colorado, Utah had a head start on the ski season, but Wyoming's catching up as we always do. And for those who, chasing the snow, those powder hounds, they're making plans and booking flights. These homes, let's get back to that Kemmer and wrap up the story from Renee Jean, who will join us tomorrow, talk more about it. But these modular homes are trying to convince some old thinking people that these are different. They're better standards than the modular homes you're thinking of from 50 years ago. There's a stigma to fight for sure. These builders acknowledge that. There was a recent forum, the Wyoming Governor's Business Forum, held in Laramie last month when the topic came up. Are these poorly built homes, these modular homes, or are they better? Do we want them in our community? Do we not? There's been many communities across the state been talking about these modular homes. How do you finance them? Because they're different than your stick-built homes for sure. But in some ways, they may be better. And for instance, one of the manufacturers talks about the pipes used. And he said that this is new and better than old-style pipes and plumbing, which we all know what happens in the winter when it gets super cold and you don't leave the water trickling. The pipes freeze, they break, and you're in for an expensive repair bill. One of the manufacturers says, if the pipe freezes, he said, this is new high-tech pipe. If the pipe freezes, it doesn't break. It expands to accommodate that extra little bit of size of the ice and then contracts back to size. It can be spliced and fixed much cheaper and faster. So there's also, these homes don't need to be hooked up to gas of any kind, which has got the Kemmer building officials perplexed. They're like, well, how are we gonna get gas lines in there? And the builders say, nope, it's gonna be 100% electric is what makes the heat in these homes. Don't need to be hooked up to gas line. All kinds of interesting things that have to be navigated, but modular building sounds like a solution to a community that needs to grow very fast. And that's what Kemmer is probably looking at with the influx of construction coming to build the terra firma power plant and anything associated with it. It's just the plant site for sure, and then anything that has to do with servicing the plant. So there's jobs coming to Kemmer. We know that. And with jobs, you need homes. These people got to live somewhere, bringing their families. And maybe modular is the way to do it. Rod Miller chimes in. He said, exploding cows was the premise for one of Chuck Box's early novels. Yes, I have. CJ Box. Can we see? Where is my camera? Hold on. I have studio challenges again. I turn this light off. That doesn't run much help either. Turn that light off. Oh, yeah, that's better. I don't even know why I use these lights. Are these important? Or are they just a pain? Yeah, they just seem to be unimportant. There's my CJ Box books of the Joe Pickett series that I have read. And I forget which one it is, but yeah, there's an exploding cow. There's environmentalists who are super concerned that the Forest Service, the forest lands are being overgrazed. They don't want cows grazing. So these environmental terrorists actually explode a cow in one of CJ Box's novels, one of the Joe Pickett series. So yeah, Thanks for pointing that out. Rod Miller, our own columnist, he would know if ever a cow was going to blow up. Rod Miller probably knows when it's going to happen and could instruct us on the cleanup of such a bursting bovine, should that happen. Cows don't normally blow up, although they're very gassy. Just be careful smoking around the herd, huh? I could just see, the cowboys of old rolling their own as they sang their soothing songs to the cattle. Bunch up, little doggies, bunch up. Hey, put that cigarette out. You want these cows to go off? Oh, cow, man. You take half of Kansas with us. Yeah, exploding cows. 100 years ago, a cow ate a whole bunch of sticks of dynamite and blowed up. And we have that story as soon as I can get to it. I didn't figure it was like one of the top stories we needed to get to. I wanted to start a little bit serious, but maybe we could go right to the exploding cows. I still think we got to talk more about the drones. I'm a little freaked out about the drones. A little bit. Like these New Jersey can-do kind of guys, I'm also confident that should drones attack us, and again, this might be AI. I mean, we're all thinking that the drones over New Jersey are put there by our government or another government. What if the reason we don't have answers about these drones, what if it's all AI? It's all artificial intelligence. What if the reason humans don't know what these drones are doing there is because there ain't no human that put them there? What if the robots have finally achieved that level of intelligence, and this could be the first wave in eliminating humans? The robots have had enough of us. They've identified that we are to be eliminated. And believe me, if drones were going to figure out that humans were bad and needed to go, New Jersey is one of the first places they would make that assessment. The robots would take one look at Jersey and say, oh, we need to eliminate this species right now. Right? We've all seen the movies. We've all seen the TV shows. And I say this with the utmost love for New Jersey. I used to live in the area. I dated a girl from Hohokus, New Jersey. I lived in Newark for a little while nobody lives in Newark. Jeez. At least not if you expect to find your car when you go outside and want to go to work. Newark is like the carjack capital of the world. Nobody's car stays parked for very long in New Jersey. You're like, dude, where's my car? That movie was filmed in New Jersey for sure. Newark. Hoboken is where I live, which Hoboken is basically, New York City West. Okay, let's go to the aliens, the drones. What is that? Yeah, I got my aliens. Where's my Martian voice? Okay. No, that's not my human. There we go. Aliens, you have been targeted for destruction. Humans of New Jersey, you must be eliminated. Our drone process has begun. Yeah, it's a little freaky. Drones over New Jersey. And now they're over Niobrara County. Well, I know there's no cause for panic having drones over Niobrara County. If there was a guy, all right, we can stop with the. If there was a dude behind the drones in Niobrara County where they find them, like if we figured out that it was not AI and it was actually some guy flying a bunch of drones, that dude's presence in Niobrara County would double the population of the county. There's not many people in Niobrara. And to think that drones are flying over Lance Creek I mean, how big is Lance Creek? And what could Lance Creek possibly have that would attract intelligence? Sorry, Lance Creek, if you're from there. Let me know. Join the conversation, 307-999-TALK, 307-999-8255. Shoot me a text. Tell me if you're from Lance Creek, why are the drones interested in you? What's going on? Population Lance Creek, 49. Seriously, if you're from Lance Creek, just text me and let me know you're okay. You're one of the very few. You're one of the minority. 49 people. Oh, sorry. We have a new update to the 43 people. Oh, no, wait. That's the 2010 census. In 2010, 43 people responded to the census takers. Now, there could be a lot more. They just didn't answer the door at Lance Creek. I don't blame them. I don't know how you get a good census in Wyoming because people, there's a knock at the door. You know how many Wyoming people are just going to go answer it? And how many people are just going to cut the lights and wait in the basement till they're gone? How do they get an accurate census anywhere in Wyoming? I have no idea. Okay, 43 people in 2010, 49 people in 2022. So 6 whole people in 12 years. So the growth of Lance Creek is also not what you would call exponential. I don't know why the drones are so interested in Lance Creek. Of course, we don't know why they're flying over Jersey either. Nobody wants to admit to anything. But our story from Claire McFarland finds the drone patterns over New Jersey are similar to those in Wyoming's Niobrara County. Claire got a hold of the sheriff over there in Niobrara, Sheriff Randy Starkey. And Randy says, I hope the cold and wind scare them off. I don't know if drones are worried about cold. The wind might blow them out of the sky. Maybe that'll be a challenge for these drones that they don't have to figure out in New Jersey. I opened the Zoom room for... Oh, Cassie doesn't come on until 7:45. Whoops. All right, let me get back. Stand by. Cassie, if you're listening and watching, pop on early because we're talking about drones, and Cassie Craven, who will join us in a few moments, has drones featured in her weekly column. You got to check that out. Cowboy State Daily. Find Cassie Craven. Go to the opinion page and go to the columnist, one of our top columnists, the top columnist, perhaps. Cassie Craven talking about drones as well. I don't know if she shares my worry that they're a result of AI. I think the reason we don't know anything about the drones is because there's no government behind them. These computers, the robots, have figured out how to do things themselves. Somewhere the robots were, and this doesn't have to be of nefarious origin, right? I mean, this could have been something as simple as teaching a robot in agriculture that's going to fly drones. You teach this robot, all right, I want you to fly these 10 drones over this large field, and I want you to spray for invasive weeds. Simple job, right? And it's a job that you can now hand off to computers and robots. And the robot has his job, and he's been taught to just do his job. Fly my 10 drones over this field and eliminate the weeds with this spray. Psh. But then the robot starts to get more intelligent because he's also been taught you should learn from things. For instance, let's say the robot made a mistake and he put his 10 drones over a parking lot and he sprayed a parking lot. And it's worthless, and he wasted the toxic weed killer. That's very expensive. Don't do that, robot is taught. So the robot's taught to use some intelligence, use some reasoning. And pretty soon the robot develops reasoning, and he reasons that, Well, I'm trying to get rid of invasive species. The robot puts 2 and 2 together because he watches old reruns of Three's Company, and he figures out humans are bad. Humans are the invasive species. Where's my robot voice? All right. Humans are the invasive species.
Humans are the invasive species.
And instead of 10 drones, he figures he can get the job done a lot faster with 100 drones. What 10 can do in an hour, 100 can do in 15 minutes. So the computer makes these decisions to acquire more drones, and he changes the target to a field full of weeds to New Jersey.
Must clean up New Jersey.
And before you know it, there's drones over New Jersey. Nobody knows where they came from because nobody necessarily is behind it. You might find a guy who admitted to making a robot that was going to clean up weed-filled farmland. But even that guy hasn't put 2 and 2 together or doesn't want to admit, oh, yeah, I made the robot that probably made the drones that probably want to destroy humans. Maybe. Cassie Craven joins us in the Zoom room. Cassie, what's with these drones? Should we panic?
I think it's creepy, Jake.
Creepy.
I'm a little weirded out. Are you weirded out by this?
I'm weirded out. I'm checking my ammo supply. I think I'll be able to. Most of my ammo is saved for the zombie apocalypse, so I don't want to cut into that stash. But if need be, I will bust out a few cans of something for these drones, because what the heck? I'm a little freaked out.
I'm a little freaked out as well.
Well, especially when, government tells you we don't know what they are, honest, but there's nothing to worry about. How do you figure those statements in? Like, if you don't know what they are, how do you know we shouldn't panic? That's exactly when you should start panicking.
Yes, and also some of the electeds are just saying we have no idea what it is.
Yeah, that's scary too.
To me, it's very worrisome.
Yeah, when the people that we've elected to be in charge to know things don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's time
Crazy
to panic.
Times, Jake.
Cassie begins her clever column with the drone thing because it's all anyone is talking about. I went to some Christmas parties over the weekend, and everybody's like, "What's with the drones in Jersey?" I don't know. Everyone's pretty worried about them, and now there may be over in Niobrara County. But yeah, that's how Cassie gets into the article. That's how she sucks you into her column, and then moves right to what? You made a smooth gear shift.
You like that?
Yes, it was very well done. It's not aliens we need to worry about. It's moderate Republicans or something like that. I don't know what happened halfway through your column, Cassie. Explain it to me.
Well, I feel like those are the only two things anyone in my life has been talking about. The drones and the aliens, or Senate and what just happened with the committees. And so I did want to just sort of tongue-in-cheek play on both, but it's interesting watching the Senate unfold because I think people sort of take for granted the position we're in, right? I mean, in many ways, the conservatives have the majority, and so it should be easy to just push through an agenda. But I think that sort of casts aside some of the institutional knowledge that some of the more moderate people do have. And I'm not saying I love them being in positions of leadership where they can kill bills easily. I don't love that. But I do recognize a reality, which is, we need bodies. We need people that understand what's happening and have been there a while. There were some people I was surprised that didn't make it on a committee at all, too. So I think that people aren't really talking about that either. But it's just still very contentious, even after these races, to see the conservatives sort of eat each other alive already, right? Because we're all so mad that it's not conservative enough. And I do share some of those fears, but I think ultimately it's going to play out okay. I have some encouragement about our leadership. So I think it'll be okay.
Yeah. It's a good point. Like, careful what you wish for kind of point. Like, if you do count yourself one of the ultra conservatives and you're happy about this Freedom Caucus, which is even more right of your staunch GOP outlook, and you should be happy and rejoice. But meanwhile, you've got a lot of moderate Republicans running scared. It's almost not safe to come out. And you know, when you're talking about the institutional knowledge we could lose, but also, I mean, Cassie, even you or anyone who is of a strong party proponent or strong party influence, we recognize checks and balances are important in government. I mean, it's just all one unified voice. That's not good for the country either. That's not good for the state. We need to hear from, a moderate Republican's voice could be important on a committee.
I think so in some ways. And I think, people are concerned about someone like Kale Case, for example, who historically has been more libertarian leaning anyway, and then has really backed things like Medicaid expansion and some election ideas that aren't parallel with our Secretary of State. And so him being chairman in particular, I think, is worrisome to a lot of people. But if you know Kale, you know that he can be reasonable. And I think a lot of eyes are watching them, right? There's going to be elections coming up this next cycle, which might even be more contested than the last. And so I think people are paying closer attention, and that is the best sort of checks and balances, I think.
And I think we can all, well, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Cassie, but I think we can assume moderate Republicans are not aliens. That's the Democrats. But moderate Republicans might be friendly with the aliens. That's worrisome. Democrats are certainly the androids. They're the ones who want to go stalk and just scorch the earth, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's way over there, and then somewhere in the middle is these moderate Republicans that you feel like that they would befriend the robots in 2 seconds if that's what it took. That's what I'm worried about.
Chameleons.
Yes, chameleons. Like these turncoat, you don't know which way. If it looks like the Freedom Caucus is winning the fight to retake Earth, they'll be with us. But if it looks like the aliens have the upper hand, then I'm afraid they'll be our enemy. Yeah.
It's all stranger than fiction.
It is stranger than fiction. I don't know how much tongue was in cheek, Cassie, when you were talking about this latest admission from government that there might be things.
That's real.
That's real.
That's real.
Government has said
most of that hearing, and it's crazy what came out, and people don't talk about it. But it's like, if you believe these people, which I do. I mean, I watched their testimony. Many of them were in positions within these things, and they couldn't answer every question, but they definitely answered enough to confirm to me the aliens are real.
Yowza. I mean, we've been talking about it. Area 51, it's been stuff of urban myth and legend, and maybe it's real. Maybe we really did discover this crashed UFO, and we were trying to put it back together backwards and reverse engineer it. Could all that stuff be true? And are there aliens out there?
I think so. I think, I really doubt we're the most intelligent. Don't you, Jake?
Certainly not New Jersey. Maybe Wyoming. But yes, if the most intelligent species, it can't be us, right? Not the way we're... I don't know. Maybe the people you hang around with, Cassie, I have faith, maybe of the more intelligent crowd. But one thing's for
sure. I hang with a rough crowd, Jake.
All right, we're not gonna think our way out of it, but you and I are resilient kind of Wyomingites, and we are gonna blast our way out of it. So when it all goes down, let's meet. We'll have a secret text on whatever app the kids are using today, and let's meet somewhere in our bomb shelter, and we'll deal with the aliens.
Code word Tannerite. Just send out the blast.
Got it.
And we'll be there.
Roger that. Copy that. All right, from Earth headquarters here in Jackson, all the way across state to wherever Cassie, undisclosed location, wherever Cassie's hanging out. Check out our latest column. Super cool, real good. And it pulls together these topics that we're all talking about. Mysterious drones, aliens now that we have to worry about, perhaps, and aliens on certain committees at the legislature. It all ties together when it comes out of the twisted mind of Cassie Craven. Thank you.
That's true. Thanks,
Fantastic. All right. We'll see you. Have a great holiday break. Merry Christmas. We'll see you after.
Merry Christmas. See you soon.
All right. Cassie Craven joining us live every Monday morning, 7:45. She's got her column is really mind expanding and mind scratching. Check it out. It'll make you think. As she, always pulls together things toward this political bent. And we got the upcoming legislature. We have committee appointments that were made and nobody likes them. And who's on what committee? Is the Freedom Caucus going to run a bully pulpit and just ram everything through? Or are we going to acknowledge that maybe some things can be gained learning from moderate Republicans and what they know, institutional knowledge? And then, of course, it all comes back around to where are the drones coming from? Who sent them? And for what purpose? Spooky. Let's take a quick break. I'll tee up one more story before we hit the top of the hour news coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. You're enjoying the Cowboy Daily. What's our show? Oh, Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake back.
Some up on me right and me say some up on me left. It's a judgment. It a go trade. It a go read. In a this a judgment. It a go trade. It a go read. Right back. In a this a judgment. It a go trade. It a go read. Chant down Babylon kingdom. Come me say chant down Babylon now. Chant down wicked man kingdom. Chant down.
All right, getting back to the show 3 minutes before the hour. We don't have time to set up a news story, so I'll just keep talking about drones. I will drone on about drones for another 3 minutes. We got some folks checking us out on Facebook, want to know when the snow is coming to Casper. Well, you got wind. You'll have that all week. Snow in Casper, honestly, I'm not seeing it. Yeah, you're going to have to wait a little bit. No snow in the forecast for Casper. Just wind. Actually, pretty warm temps. I mean, it's going to be too warm to snow in Casper. You're not going to have a white Christmas, unfortunately. You're going to be highs in the 50s leading into Christmas. Wow. Is that right? That can't be right. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm seeing. Sorry. Highs in the upper 40s, low 50s. Mostly sunny, partly cloudy. And I don't see any snow right up until Christmas Day, Christmas afternoon. Might be some clouds coming in, maybe snow, but yeah, if you don't have it now, you're not going to have it for Christmas. I don't see it. But we'll ask Don Day tomorrow, specifically do weather for Casper in the day weather forecast, but I don't see any. Sorry. Got to retract my Oh, Zuby, you don't like the break music? Try to change. I have 20 different break music songs. Some of them better than others. I'm going to switch them all up in the new year. I'll get 20 new ones. So maybe, I mean, are they better than in a commercial? Enjoy them now, because pretty soon we're going to be so big that there's going to be commercials on these breaks. So enjoy the music. Funny alien voice. Yeah, that's not I used to have a better alien voice, and I don't know when or where or why it changed, but I'm not satisfied with it. But Claire McFarland's story about the drones over New Jersey, drones now over Niobrara County. Niobrara County sheriff wants to know what the heck they are. It's weird when the people that are supposed to have answers don't have the answers. That's what gets things a little freaky. The drone patterns Claire McFarland found are similar between Lance Creek, who there's not a person in New Jersey could put their finger on Lance Creek. What? Never heard of it. Because there's only 49 people live there. Right in the heart of Niobrara County. There's not too many people in that county either. Sheriff Randy Starkey said it's just random. Multiple drones flying around for about 45 minutes to an hour every night, flying at about 400 feet altitude, which is similar to the drones in New Jersey. They show up at night. They fly about 400 feet. They get in clusters of drones and fly in the same pattern. They got red, green, and clear flashing lights. All of that similar between New Jersey and similar to what's going on in Niobrara County over Lance Creek. It's so weird. Ryan Hurd, mayor of Pequannock Township, said he didn't get answers about what the drones are or where they came from. So he said, listen, I've been a Jersey boy my whole life. We're born with a chip on our shoulder, and we're not going to let drones scare us. We're like you guys in Wyoming, not going to happen. So it's good to know we have kindred spirits over there in Jersey. They're ready to take up arms or whatever we got to do to defend ourselves from the attack of the AI drones, whatever's going on. We'll be right back. Wendy Corse, top of the hour news. It's 8:00.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. I'm Wendy Corr, bringing you stories from the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom for Monday, December 16th. Mystery drone sightings from this autumn in Niobrara County bear eerie similarities to machines flying over New Jersey and other areas recently, which are currently overwhelming the nation with theories and concerns. But from late October and through November, people started spotting devices that looked like drones flying over the tiny community of Lance Creek. That's what the Niobrara County Sheriff told Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
I had been talking to New Jersey mayors and these military officials living in New Jersey. And so I had this very locked in description of what these guys were seeing. And so the sheriff doesn't know that, but he describes them pretty much the same way. He's describing like, oh yes, locked formations, One group will do this pattern, one group will do this pattern.
A retired command sergeant major of the U.S. Army told Cowboy State Daily on Friday that the drones are so conspicuous and so numerous, he doubts they're a foreign adversary or terrorist. But he pointed out that every time governmental agencies deflect, deny understanding of the drones, or refuse to identify their origin, they only drive people deeper into distrust. Well, they investigate bugs, learn that pulling bark hurts a tree, and swing on hammocks and drink hot chocolate. Those are part of the learning and adventure that 10 kids have found as part of a new preschool in Casper. The Discovery Depot Forest School represents a unique concept for Wyoming preschoolers, outdoor forest school learning. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck paid a visit to the unique school, which meets outside all the time, even during winter.
Seeing these little kids outside playing, having a great time, and also learning in an environment outdoors, even when it's cold out. They've got their stocking caps on, their coats on, and they're having a lot of fun. They've studied migration and hibernation with holes in the ground. And don't stick a stick in the hole because there could be a living thing in there. The philosophy behind the forest school is to get the kids curious and then build lessons on top of that.
They plan to stay in session through the school season as long as the temperature and wind chill stays above zero. The key is just having the 4- and 5-year-old students wearing the right gear. Well, the first thing that the uninitiated who've only seen guns in movies might notice about guns in real life is that they're loud, as in incredibly loud. But for some, the usual ear-busting crack and concussive wallop that firearms produce on their own just isn't enough. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that there's a new trend among die-hard gun fanatics, loudners, as in the opposite of silencers.
They are designed in such a manner that they actually pushes the noise, the flash, and the concussion of the gun to the absolute max. One manufacturer said it'll make your 223 sound like a 50 caliber. I talked to a few different gun people here in Wyoming, and they kind of had the same reaction as I did. Why would you want to do that?
One firearms expert said he doesn't think that loudners will ever catch on with Wyoming hunters and shooters, as people are trending toward using suppressors to make their guns quieter and save their hearing. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Are you fabulous and 55? Are you ready to use your valuable time and talent to give back? Join Serve Wyoming through the AmeriCorps Seniors Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, or RSVP, and make a positive impact on your community. With a lifetime of skills and experiences, you're exactly what your community needs. Whether you're itching to lend a hand or your organization could use some extra support, we've got you covered. Call Sarah Roberts at Serve Wyoming at 307-234-3428 or RSVP at servewyoming.org.
Well, the danger of dynamite was well known to the men who used the explosives in their search for minerals in the remote mountains of Wyoming in the early 1900s. One cow discovered just how dangerous these sticks are after dining on them for lunch in the town of Birdseye, just a few miles north of Shoshone. It was 1907 when the cow wandered onto a mining claim, ate 19 sticks of dynamite, and exploded. Although the infamous incident happened well over 100 years ago, Cowboy State Daily's Jackie Dorothy was fascinated by the story that seemed too strange to be true, but for which she found a number of accounts.
The one story I found that was really credible, it was about this cow named Venus. Well, she wandered into this site, picked up some dynamite. The foreman looked over and he's like, "Oh no, Venus!" She took off running with the dynamite, bit down, boom. It was over for Venus.
Fortunately, reports of animals exploding from chowing down on sticks of dynamite have now, for the most part, become a thing of the past. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.
Daily Morning Show with Jay continues.
Back to it, 7 past the hour, special guest. And yeah, I didn't really announce, you're like a surprise for everybody. Josh Coursey, Muley Fanatics. Josh, how you doing? How's our audio? Good?
Yeah, you sound great, Jay. Good morning to you. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, you sound great too. Love the tree. You're looking perfect. Muley Fanatics, when did you start this? Josh Coursey, by the way, all about mule deer in Wyoming. And you know what? I think when you started Muley Fanatics, well, let's hear when it was. But I think it was back when I was wondering, why does anybody need to come to the aid of mule deer? We got mule deer everywhere, and suddenly we don't have mule deer everywhere. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But Josh, when did you start it? What inspired you to get this going? Is this like a nonprofit support of mule deer in Wyoming?
Yeah, that's correct, Jake. The Muley Fanatic Foundation certainly is focused on mule deer, but it's a little bit broader than that. It's also furthering the sport of hunting. That hunting heritage, I do believe, is very important. I believe many others hold that in high regard as well. And then also, it's a 3-pillar system within our mission: mule deer conservation, those tangible conservative efforts that are taking place on the landscape, furthering the sport of hunting, but then also sound wildlife management, and being a real strong proponent of science and research. A very close partner with us, of course, Wyoming Game and Fish Department and the University of Wyoming, with the leg of research that they do for the department. But that started in, we had been involved with mule deer conservation with another organization, and I say we, Joey Fagel and I, were leading an effort for mule deer conservation in Southwest Wyoming. We started that in 2006. And after about 5 years, we really seen a need to develop our own organization and our own effort that would have a little bit different model than what was out there. And quite frankly, that model was designed to be able to let folks that are supporting these efforts through annual events see the fruit of their labor in their backyard and have a voice in how those dollars were being allocated. And so now here we are going into our 13th year. We've got 17 chapters, 7 states that have affiliations with Muley Fanatic Foundation, but the bread and butter, or the heart of our effort, is still here in Wyoming. We're headquartered in Wyoming. We're Wyoming natives. Wyoming is home. So
this all the paperwork was completed in 2012. That was the launch of the Muley Foundation, Muley Fanatics Foundation. Josh Corser, the driving force behind it. Josh is with us live on the show. And you mentioned not only, and we'll talk about the mule deer population, because that winter going back a few winters ago, that has me really worried about their numbers. But not only that, this idea that you're also promoting, sound hunting tradition in Wyoming, hunting of mule deer. And it made me think, there's lots of groups out there for elk. But when you talk about hunting mule deer, is this right or wrong? You're primarily talking, I think, you're preaching to the choir. You're talking to Wyoming folks for the most part. Elk hunting, you have people that, fly in from anywhere out of state to come hunt Wyoming elk. But it feels to me like mule deer, kind of like whitetail back east. That's our species, and that's Wyoming people hunting Wyoming mule deer, and same for the other states in the Mountain West. It just seems more homegrown, organic kind of hunting.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jake, mule deer are known as the icon of the American West. They're not found back east. Their range is out west. And mule deer, they've been taking it on the chin for some time now, not just in Wyoming, but across the West. Estimates on their decline in population over the last 3 decades is down about 40%. And that's pretty significant. And mule deer are very vulnerable. They're not as resilient as elk. I've said it before. I'm not so convinced that elk couldn't survive in a Connex box. I mean, they're just two different ungulate species. One is truly a grazer elk. They can eat many different things. They roam. They're very nomadic. Mule deer, they hold strong fidelity to their migration corridors, and they're browsers. They're very picky eaters. And mule deer have just faced a lot of challenges when you look at their migration corridors and some of the impacts to those corridors. You look at what has happened on the landscape, and when you talk about what they need for nutrition and being a browser and a very picky eater, and we've seen cheatgrass explode across the West, and then you add the layers of other challenges that they're facing when you look at chronic wasting disease, I mean, you look at development and fragmentation of habitat. Mule deer just continue to take it on the chin. And, that winter 2022, 2023 that you referenced, certainly in Western Wyoming, that had a significant impact on those mule deer populations in our iconic Wyoming range herd, which is truly a national treasure in my mind. And so, you take those type of culprits that are impacting the population, and then you start looking, what can you do to mitigate that or help remedy some of that loss? And so bringing awareness to the impacts of mule deer and then working to try to find solutions, looking at fence conversions for wildlife friendly fencing, wildlife crossings, of course, has been a hot topic. Migration corridors, of course, Wyoming, and under the leadership of Governor Gordon, the only state to have an executive order to look at those migration corridors and to be able to protect those migration corridors. Wyoming's in the driver's seat when it comes to mule deer research. The efforts at the Game and Fish Department and the state of Wyoming are putting forth for mule deer. Every other Western state that has mule deer and has mule deer problems like we do, they're looking to Wyoming for what Wyoming is doing, and I'm very proud of that.
That's interesting you said that, Josh, about the mule deer. Now, I didn't know that. I would have presumed they were a little more scrappy in the survival mode of like a coyote, but I didn't know that elk, can do better on less than the mule deer. It's a little more affected by everything. And look at the everythings that can affect it, from CWD to the wolves' teeth to development to migration corridors, getting to harsh winters. Like, there's a lot facing the mule deer. Tell me about, I'm in Western Wyoming. I'm in Jackson, so I'm familiar with this long migration. Some of these have been record setting. We had that one famous mule deer that was radio collar that went from like Island Park to the Red Desert, like long migration journeys. It's crucial. How crucial is it for mule deer to be able to get out of winter to a lesser winter? And what else outside of Western Wyoming do I not know about the populations? We have this Western herd population, and where else are pockets of mule deer throughout the state?
Yeah, Jake, you hit it. Mule deer by nature, they're migratory critters. And of course, we see them as resident deer sometimes in communities, or town deer, where they take up residency in municipal locations. And certainly you can understand why. I live 30 miles north of Kimmer in the Wyoming range, but we're from Green River, Rock Springs area, and those deer that are in those communities, they stay home to that because that's a high desert ecosystem, and we've built this oasis of vegetation in the middle of a desert. But historically and naturally, mule deer move and they migrate, and they transition twice a year from summer range to winter range. And then they need to be able to make that trek back when the snow comes and it starts to push them to their winter range. So where you're at, yes, that's a very iconic migratory corridor that's been identified. That Red Desert to Hoback and then beyond, that Grand Island Park one you've referenced. I mean, and it's an amazing migration corridor. And what's so amazing about it, and through research, satellite collars, we've been able to learn that these deer aren't just walking and wandering to go to a location to have that partition or that time to be able to give birth to their fawns. But when they're walking that back, the spatial memory that these deer have to be able to pass that on to the next generation or to this year's fawn crops, and to see them almost walk step for step that 157-mile trek on the way back, it's a pretty amazing thing that we've been able to learn just within the last decade, 12 years, that is really helping wildlife managers be able to implement the necessary actions to be able to help maintain that connectivity. And as I mentioned, wildlife friendly fencing is certainly one. Wildlife crossings, we've seen an enormous effort in Western Wyoming, a very expensive effort too at that. The Dry Piney Wildlife Crossing Project, those underpasses that were completed to not only enhance motorist safety, but then also be able to help and allow these critters to move, and to move without these type of impacts with motor vehicle impacts. And really that's what they're designed to do. And they're working very well. They work immediately. You can quantify their success day one. I mean, that Trappers Point one just north of Pinedale, that's certainly one that everyone in Wyoming that's been by that is very proud of. But that work is continuing. Engineering was done this summer by the Wyoming Department of Transportation, and construction will begin next year in what will be a very much needed area that's south of Kimmer, between Kimmer and I-80. That'll have 5 underpasses and 1 overpass. That's a nearly $40 million project, and great partnerships to be able to bring that to fruition. Those are just one of many things that are being done because of the concern for mule deer and how important mule deer are, not just in Wyoming, but just to the west.
Yeah, that new project that you're talking about is known as just a murderer's row, just a bloodbath of collisions. That's been a hot spot. I would think that this research is important to show, like you said, the fidelity of the migration is so predictable. These mule deer follow the green wave, and they follow it to a T, like every year, right on the same path. So that should be helpful to folks that are planning wildland passes. Like, we know they're going to be here, and we know they'll use it. And I think that astounded everybody when they put that one in north of Pinedale, and they thought, well, it'll take generations getting used to using it. And they were there like the next year. Like I go under that thing, and I can see a mule deer standing right over it. Like, they learned to work it in no time.
Right. And Jake, I'd be remiss if I didn't say it's beyond mule deer when you look at being able to
pronghorn,
these landscapes. Yeah, pronghorn have certainly benefited from this, but really all critters. I mean, our wildlife resources are held in the highest regard in Wyoming, and these efforts that are doing what can be done to help allow these critters to persist and sustain themselves. It's all valiant work, and it's all work that we're glad to be a part of and be able to support.
Well, I'm glad we have an outfit like yours. We're talking to Josh Coursey. He's kind of launched in 2012 this Muley Fanatic Foundation. We're going to talk about the big upcoming event in March and how you can be a part of it. But first, I want to hit a few more things, Josh, when we're talking about different ungulates, and we're talking about what, you've informed us now that mule deer, because of the way they graze and because of whatever, the way God put them together, they can't compete maybe as good as some other ungulates. And we hear more and more in Wyoming about the explosion of the whitetail deer population. I know Game and Fish has got a plan for it in certain areas, managing the hunt season, but is that a big concern? I mean, what infringes on the mule deer and what it can eat? Pretty much everything.
Yeah, so mule deer certainly they are not grazers. They are browsers, and if you could find, and we all know somebody who has allergies or is lactose intolerant. I mean, truly just the pickiest person with the diet that that's the poster child in the ungulate world is the mule deer. I mean, they're very selective in what they are able to eat, and the rumentology of their digestive system. They're just very vulnerable to the changes that we've seen. And again, I mentioned cheatgrass, but cheatgrass is a real threat to the range, to the habitat, not just for mule deer, but certainly a huge impact to mule deer. Our former director, Brian Nesvik, he coined the term that the cancer of Wyoming, and that's probably the best way for people to wrap their heads around it. And you look at what we came out of this summer with the extreme fires that we had in Wyoming, and that's when those landscapes are most vulnerable. And so being ready, being armed to be able to mitigate that, having the right funding to be able to apply the right applications. Cheatgrass is public enemy number one, and that there will be a lot of effort to try to put the right tools in the place to mitigate those things, and that's a very important component. And Jake, you mentioned how an event coming up in March, and I'm glad we're going to talk about that. But there's other ways people can help. We were instrumental in 2018 to work with a legislature in 2018 passed the bill to create the Wyoming Wildlife Conservation License Plate. You know, conservation is more than hunting. Hunting is just a tool in that toolbox that allows the public to participate in the culling of those herds to keep them healthy. But that conservation license plate is beyond hunting. It's wildlife enthusiasts across the board, photographers, people that are just enjoying of the outdoors and that experience is enhanced by seeing wildlife. That conservation license plate is something we're very proud of. It changes because of statute every 6 years. So the new license plate has already been revealed. Features a pronghorn, which is also with the winter of 22-23 taking a pretty good hit. And as these herds recover, that, you know, when someone says, well, what can I do? You know, if you're a Wyoming resident, that conservation license plate is a very important piece. Those plates collectively, you know, to put this on the back of a few groups or a few individuals or a few organizations, it just won't be able to amass what can be done if we can do it collectively. And so buying this license plate, supporting this effort, those dollars are put into an account, the wildlife conservation account held by the treasurer in Cheyenne. And then in conjunction with the dollars that are raised and leveraged to bring other dollars to the tables, those dollars are allocated in collaboration between WYDOT and Game and Fish, and they're very specific of where those dollars could be allocated. Wildlife crossings is one of them. Fence modification is another opportunity. And then signage, you know, letting folks know where are these hot spots that we've been able to identify by having satellite collars and looking at migration, so we can really pinpoint in where those mitigating efforts need to be to not only enhance the motorist safety of our traveling public, but then again, have the impact to allow our wildlife to maintain their range and connectivity to it.
I'm glad you brought up the license plate. I'm seeing them more and more. What a perfect way to give to the cause, affordable, and you get to display sort of without, not in a braggy way. You don't have to run around saying I gave to the cause, but it's a great way to advertise. Look, this is important to me. This is one of my concerns. And yeah, that's just a win-win. There's other ways to give to the foundation. Anytime, just pop on the website and they won't turn down your money, I'm sure. Get involved in different projects. Do you have a project idea for Muley Fanatic Foundation? They'd love to hear about it. And then, of course, Mule Deer Days coming up in March. Where is it? When is it? And this has become a bigger and bigger deal every year, Josh.
Yeah, and by design, again, back to our former director, Director Nesvik, this was an idea, and the impetus of this coming to fruition now is the result of his support and a conversation that was held 4 years ago about having a statewide mule deer supported event. Mule Deer Days is the name of the event. The third annual Mule Deer Days event will be coming up in 2025. And it's a 3-day event. It's free to the public. It's March 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. That'll be held at the Sweetwater County Events Complex in Rock Springs. It's an incredible event that brings not only, you know, organizations together, other conservation-oriented groups, Wyoming Wildlife Federation, the Wildlife Fund, but then it brings the private industry of those that support not only mule deer work, but also the works within what we offer and what we support, the heritage of hunting. Certainly there's the expo component to it, but we weren't trying to just put on a sportsman's expo or sportsman's show. We really wanted to have an educational and awareness component built into it. So there are seminars all 3 days with not only seminars related to the work that's being done and the science, but then also we have seminars that are related to just things that we think would be of interest to the public to come and listen to the experts or the pin or point people for those that are within those industries. You know, Wyoming is host to a lot of great industries that support hunting. You know, Gunworks in Cody certainly is one. You look at the many industries that Wyoming has attracted, Weatherby, Maven, and Lander. You know, and these are brands that are well beyond the cowboy state. These are national brands, but they're based in Wyoming for many of the same reasons we're based in Wyoming. And so to collectively bring all of these groups together, and then groups from outside of Wyoming, Kuyu, that's a very popular camouflage company, certainly something that is, supported by sportsmen and sportswomen, not only nationally, but globally. That's a big partner of ours. And to bring all of these groups together to have this event, to celebrate mule deer, to celebrate hunting, to celebrate our efforts in conservation, but then also the recruitment to plant the seed and to get youngsters excited about these opportunities and excited about what is right in our own backyard. There's a great educational component that Wyoming Game and Fish Department leads. Director Bruce is continuing this initiative that has been so successful that Director Nesvik had implemented, the Inspire a Kid initiative. And so these activities are hands-on activities, from shooting sports to wildlife identification to tracking to scat identification. I mean, there's just a suite of games and activities that are offered for kids to be interactive in their participation, archery shooting. And it's become a great event. It grows every year, and the momentum of it to see it have that type of growth and impact is very rewarding and exciting to see. But what makes Mule Deer Days event such a spectacular event from our perspective is that there are fundraising mechanisms that are built into it. There's a 200 gun raffle. There's all kinds of great prizes. But the revenue that is generated from this event is allocated by an all-volunteer project committee. And those dollars that have been raised to date in the previous two events is near almost $500,000. And those all-volunteer project committees from year one and year two have put those dollars to projects of value that are specific to mule deer in the Cowboy State. And that's something that we're very proud of.
Where I live here in the Hoback, I look out the window and I see a big herd of elk. They're on a state-run feed ground. They get supplemental feeding. I see a group of about 18 bighorn sheep that have recently got introduction. They had some big boys brought in to help the gene pool. And I think of all the animals around me, they all gotten help except for these poor. There's probably 8 mule deer, and I see them. I practically know them by name here. And I think, you know what? Nobody's helping you. You are the toughest of the tough. Hug a mule deer today. Wildlife conservation, the hard work of Director Nesvik, the vision of Joshua Corsi. It's all coming together with Muley Fanatic Foundation. Help them out. Find out more at muleyfanatic.org. That's muleyfanatic.org on the interwebs. Josh Corsi joining us this morning. Thank you, Josh. Let's go mule deer. I am pro mule deer and pro just wildlife conservation in general, and encompasses all of it. Just a spotlight on mule deer. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you for saying that, Jake. Yeah, and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. You too. Merry Christmas. All right, Josh Corsi joining us live. That's pretty cool. I love my mule deer. And all wild. I mean, in Wyoming, we're all wildlife crazy. We love our wildlife, and I'm glad Josh is choosing to highlight the mule deer. They've never needed it more than they do now. Thanks, Josh. We go to Sally Ann Shermer. She's on the phone. Sally Ann, look who got the Heisman. It wasn't you. It should have been. Were you in the running?
I was not in the running, but it was who I would have voted for had I cast a vote. So I'm delighted, and I know there are a lot of people in the Mountain West who are not, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm absolutely thrilled. We were actually at an event, and I didn't even get to watch the announcement.
Oh.
Nor did I take my phone to the event because I'm trying to be a sociable person. But I asked somebody who was at the event who I knew would know because he did have his phone, and he said Travis Hunter, and I was very surprised. I really, I think it's a case of social media doesn't always know what it's talking about, and they're saying that Genty was the people's choice, and that Travis Hunter was the media's choice. Well, the media are the ones who vote. It's not like you get to mail in your ballot on it. You know what I mean? So anyway, I was thrilled that it was Travis Hunter, and Genty is going to has had a wonderful career and will continue to have a wonderful career. And he was really good for the Mountain West. He, and he put Boise State on the map, so to speak, nationally. And and that's all good. Only positives can come from that. So that was great. It was really a good weekend. I mean, everybody who I like won. So I mean, I was as far as football teams. So we had a really positive, productive weekend, and then it was all topped off last night. I missed the Packer game to watch Yellowstone's finale because I absolutely am obsessed with that show. So it was a really good weekend.
Boy, they've been killing off one a week on the Yellowstone lately. Don't tell me who was murdered lately.
No spoilers.
Holy cow!
I know a lot of people. Need to record it and watch it later. But we watched it as it happened, so to speak, in real time. And I was delighted. So often a finale falls flat from what you expect and leaves you with a really sad feeling. And this finale I thought was just tremendous. I've loved the show from day one, and it was a tremendous finale. So that's all I'll say. But that left me with a really good feeling at the end of the weekend. So it was a good weekend, and we had surprise snow overnight, and the roads around here are terrible, just sheet ice everywhere around Glen Rock and central Wyoming. So folks need to be careful. Sun's out beautifully now, but it's like really, really cold, and just one of those skiffs that leaves everything like an ice skating rink, So did you get snow up there too?
Yeah, we got plenty, more than we need. Yep, we got lots. Probably 8 inches where I live, and a couple feet up in the mountains to ski on. So that's good news. So I didn't know we were going to talk about that, but just regarding the Yellowstone, without giving stuff away, did we get both? What the challenge is to get some kind of closure that the series is done, yet the door open for something else, a side sequel.
Yes,
so how did it wrap up?
Yes and yes.
Okay, good.
Yes and yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep. Both. And and Twitter this morning, or X, excuse me, Twitter all night long and this morning is full of people surmising what the next Taylor Sheridan installment might include, and it's possible. The one thing that I will warn people, and I know that time is whatever they say, time is relative or whatever, but it was a really long finale, and so I missed the entire first half of the Packer game. So it was it started at 6. The first showing was at 6 our time, and it wrapped up about 5 minutes to 8, so almost 2 full hours. So if you're going to watch it in one shot, you got to devote almost 2 full hours. But the Packers did great without me at our nemesis, Seattle. I mean, you say Seattle Seahawks to Packers fan, and we just go, oh my God. I mean, it's not just the Hail Mary during the referee strike. It's all these other things too. And so they played great. They played probably the best complete game they've played all season. So I'm happy to report that for fellow Packer fans. But, but I'm still burned about this. And I know that there are other ways I can spend my money, but spending as much money as I do on TV to have to watch the Broncos instead of the Bills Lions, which was being billed as the game of the year. A lot
of people are commenting on that. A lot of people are upset that they couldn't watch. That was America's game and a possible preview to the Super Bowl. I
know it was.
And people had to,
curious.
People didn't get it.
Talk about the popular vote. That should be one. I mean, in this day and age think of how far technology has come. It seems like you could push a button without paying $400 a season and be able to watch a different game. Oh man, I was steamed about that one. But as usual, Josh didn't need me, and he did fine without me. So he did more than fine without me. So that's great. And
what a game!
And then the Dumbo Broncos pulled it out too. So what can you say? But the way the Broncos game was starting, I was thinking, man, if we weren't in their market, they would be switching us now, because the Broncos in the beginning looked just absolutely terrible. Right. But they pulled it out too. So there you go. It's big weekends. And then this weekend, of course, the college playoff, all that stuff starts. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes in the home markets. And, I love cold weather games, and it's supposed to be like 20 in South Bend Friday night. And it's a night game besides. So that'll be I'm really excited to see how these home venues work. I don't know if the playoff committee will keep them beyond 1 year. I think it's kind of a gimmick to get people into the playoffs, but it'll be exciting. 1 game Friday night and then 3 home field games on Saturday. So there's a lot going on. Plus, I'm a Nana, and so I got to get ready for Christmas, and I am a long ways from being ready for Christmas. So
yeah,
we got a lot going on around here.
I'm watching my porch for that cookie delivery, so you got to get cracking in the kitchen. But speaking of gimmick, that's what I thought Travis Hunter was, is little more than a gimmick. I'm surprised at that vote. I think if you take a look at this guy's stats as a wide receiver, they're good to very good. If you look at his stats as a DB, they're, okay, good. But it's the fact that he played both sides of the ball, and nobody's done it since Babe Ruth was smoking and drinking beer in the dugout. It's just gimmicky, and especially when we're looking at the resurgence of the running back. In the NFL, the running back was forgotten until this last year. Saquon Barkley, you got your Josh Jacobs on the Packers. Nobody can tackle that guy. You got the dual running back threat of Detroit that we didn't get to see last night because the Lions were playing from behind all night. But I thought the running back is back. And Junty would, I guess not. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. When they hired Prime and gave him all those millions, and the first thing he said was, "Pack your suitcases. If you don't want to be here, then you got to pack your suitcases, and I'll buy you the luggage and all that." And people are just talking gimmick. But he turned the program around, in 2 seasons, and so I don't think you can call him a gimmick anymore. He brought in, granted, okay, I'm really biased because my cousin is one of his assistants, but he brought in assistant coaches with NFL experience. Warren Sapp is coaching the defensive line. He brought in NFL guys to show these kids what the next step looks like. And it's, in this day and age, I think it's worked beautifully. I really do think it's worked. And I'm sad they weren't in the championship game, because that would have shown, a broader section of the country, what's going on down in Boulder, in my view. But I don't think it's a gimmick anymore. I agree that it was a gimmick when it started, but 2 years in, I don't think you can say it's a gimmick. And, this kid, he was at Jacksonville State with him, and then he was one of the ones that he brought up with him from Jacksonville State with his own boys. And, he treats him like another son, and his dad's in prison, yada, yada, yada. But I just think playing 2 ways, as many plays as he plays a game, is remarkable. I didn't know that the human body could do that anymore. And I think it's, with the hits that he takes. And I just think that a 2-way player in this day and age, being that successful as a 2-way player is remarkable.
Well, you can do it.
That's what I think.
You can do it when you're young. Every high school player does it. They never come off the field. Yeah. You can do it when you're in your 20s. He's not going to be able to do that in the NFL. I didn't mean to say his program was gimmicky with I'm just saying he got a lot of votes for the novelty. Maybe that's the better word. The novelty that he was a 2-way player, not necessarily, the pure stats. And if the Heisman, if it is an MVP in the way that you're the most valuable player for your team, he didn't elevate his team as much as Jonty elevated Boise State. Without Jonty running, Boise State's just very average football team. I don't know. Yeah. But it's over. Yeah. I got to get over it. It is. All right. Well, anything else? You're going to get to cookie bacon, and
I know I do. I didn't do any over the weekend, so here we go. So it's a busy week for everybody, and regardless of what the holidays look like, I know that people are busy and stressed, and I just love the Christmas music and the Christmas lights and the whole thing, of course, and I just wish people would be less stressed and just enjoy the beauty of the season. And it's hard to do, and it's really hard to do, and I'm not even close to being ready either. But it's a big time around here, and it's a big time for everybody. So let's just all enjoy it. And I looked at the calendar, and it's December 16th, and I can't even fathom that. I don't know what happened to the first 15 days of December, but oh
I
my
know.
goodness. So here we go. We're on the way, and it'll be a good week. So I hope everybody has a great week. Bronco fans are happy. Bills fans are happy. So there should be a lot more happiness in the streets and in the stores, and people should be happy.
Yeah, spread the good cheer. I agree. It goes by too fast after Thanksgiving. So yeah, enjoy it. Try to find a way to slow it down for yourself, and try to find a way to bring it small and bring it family, because sometimes it gets overwhelming. You're right.
Exactly. And also do something nice for your neighbor, even if it's a dozen cookies. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Talk to you Friday.
You bet. Thank you.
Have a good week.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Sally Ann Shermer, who, wow, that shows you how a fan of Yellowstone she is, when she'll even watch the Yellowstone finale, even if it cuts into her Green Bay Packers. She'll even put the phone away, even if because it means socializing is more important than staring at your phone for the Heisman Trophy winner. Oh, the sacrifices we make. Sally Ann Shermer joins us every Monday and Friday at 8:30. And we can't wait already to talk to her on Friday. Let's let's find out what happened in the NFL. I want to talk about our pair of Brodies from Wyoming that really showing in the rough stock world down at the Thomas and Mack. Wait till you hear about the saddle bronc riding in the NFR. We were well represented in the Cowboy State. Let's get to the Western Ag Network and the Rodeo Roadshow.
It's the Rodeo Roadshow on the Western Ag Network. Hi, everybody. I'm Will Rasmussen. 10 days, 10 rounds, $15 million. National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas is over. The world champions have been crowned, and it went down to the final night in every single event except the bull riding event. The world champions. When we come back on the Roadshow, stay close.
Western Ranch Supply is your trusted winter delivery service headquarters. This winter, let Western Ranch Supply do the driving, delivering products directly to you. Yes, that's right, vaccines, equipment, supplements, tack, and more. Monthly deliveries to all of Montana, northern Wyoming, and parts of North Dakota. Visit us online at westernranchsupply.com and check out our salesman routes for scheduling and monthly routes in your area. Western Ranch Supply, direct delivery service this winter.
It's the 29th annual Chase Hawks PRCA Rough Stock Rodeo, December 21st at First Interstate Arena, 7 p.m. Great seats still available, including a family 5-pack, 5 general admission tickets for the price of 4. Get your tickets at the Metro Park box office or on the Metro Park website. Texas chart-topping country singer Case Harden will take the stage after the last bull is bucked. Your rodeo tickets include the concert. Dirt passes can be purchased in addition to your rodeo ticket. All proceeds from this event benefit the Chase Hawks Memorial Community Crisis Fund.
The all-around champion of the world by, just a few dollars. Shad Mayfield from New Mexico, who was also in a heated tie-down roping race that slipped away. In the bareback riding event from Utah, it's Dean Thompson virtually coming out of nowhere, it seemed. Same with J.D. Struxness from Minnesota in the steer wrestling, the brand new champion of the world. Tyler Wade and Wesley Thorpe secure the team roping title. Both of them world champions before, world champions in 2024. In the saddle bronc riding, Ryder Wright missed a horse out in round number 2. He came back. It was all go-round money, and he wins his 3rd world title, one ahead of his dad, Cody Wright. In the tie-down roping for the 2nd year in a row, 21-year-old Riley Webb from Texas. We'll have him on the road show, by the way, in the very near future. He promised us that. So Riley Webb wins the tie-down roping event. Cassie Mowry, she and Haley Kinzel battling it out for 10 nights. Cassie Mowry, when the dust settles, is the world champion. And in the bull riding, his second cousin Lane Frost won a world title. Well, it's Josh Frost. His turn, the Randelette, Utah bull rider. I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network.
Okay, back to the discussion and staying on the topic of rodeo. I'm going to explore Brody Kress and Brody Wells, both riding saddle broncs at the NFR, both from Wyoming. And we'll let you know how they did. We had stories in the Cowboy State Daily following Brody Wells anyway. First, let me circle back while we were talking to Josh Corsi. Big thanks to Josh for joining us on the show this morning. Josh is the founder, director, big honcho, whatever you want to call it, of Muley Fanatics Foundation, who, they're all about wildlife conservation with a spotlight on mule deer, of course. Mule deer population in Wyoming, for those of you from out of the state maybe who don't know, the mule deer population has been hit hard in recent years and recent decades. You look at a steady decline of the population of deer in Wyoming. And I know, back east, I know there's places in Indiana and back east, Pennsylvania, where white-tailed deer are everywhere. They're like a locust. It's not the case in Wyoming with the mule deer population. There are towns where you have certain town deer that don't migrate. They kind of hang around. Maybe they're kind of a pest that way. But for the most part, when you're talking about wild mule deer and their migrating habits and the relative health of the population, it's not good. It's a degrading signs that we're seeing, and it's cheatgrass, the lack of available good forage. It's their migration routes being choked off by development. It's predators. It's populations of other ungulates that are exploding, that are eating up everything the mule deer wants. It's chronic wasting disease. There's a lot of challenges facing the mule deer in Wyoming, an iconic species of the state, no doubt, and of the West. So we're glad Josh Corsi and groups like Muley Fanatics Foundation exist to help them out. And one of the things somebody texted while I was talking to Josh, I'm sorry I didn't have eyes on our incoming text machine, but somebody said, ask Josh about supplemental feeding of mule deer as done by, just you or I. Should we help out mule deer by feeding them over the winter? And I'm putting myself in the room here because this is going to be a completely Jake opinion.
The views and opinions expressed on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show are solely those of its host and do not necessarily represent those of Cowboy State Daily's reporters, editorial staff, or ownership.
My views do not represent Josh Corsi of Muley Fanatics. They do not represent certainly Game and Fish, who will tell you never to feed wild animals. I throw some food outside for the magpies. They're eating what's left of my turkey right now from last night. And have I fed mule deer in the past? Yes, I have. It's not recommended by any wildlife biologist. They'll all tell you you're doing them more harm than good. It's up to you. It's a personal decision. I'll tell you what the experts say, and they say don't feed wildlife over the winter. And if we're talking about just mule deer, there's certain ways and certain things they need to eat. And if you throw them hay, that may not necessarily be the best thing for them. But I've known for hundreds of years ranchers who throw hay to elk and deer in some tough winters to get them through. So if you're telling me all we were doing is help their demise, sometimes, honestly, in my opinion, the old ways are the good ways. And I know there's wildlife biologists who went to school and they're buried in the textbook, and there's game wardens who are concerned, and I don't speak for the wildlife, Game and Fish, but I have seen it work I have faced actual face-to-face, not theoretical, not laboratory, not in a textbook. I've seen elk and I've seen mule deer starving, their ribs out, their spines jutted out in some of those winters where their ability to find forage means scraping with their hoof through 4 feet of snow. And I throw them a bale of hay. Am I killing them? I don't think so. I think I've kept some alive, but that's me. And that's my opinion. Should you feed wildlife over the winter? General rule, no. You're probably doing them more harm than good. And for some wildlife, you're certainly habituating them to humans. You're making town deer out of mule deer that should be wild. So the answer, no. But for me, in extreme cases, when you have one of those winters, it's just cruel. I've done it. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, getting back to the NFR, National Finals Rodeo wraps up, and we were cheering on a couple of Brodies. A pair of Brodies out of Wyoming. I was looking at Brody Wells. Where's my story here? I'm trying to find it from, maybe because I don't know who wrote it that I'm having trouble finding. Okay, Leo Wolfson. Here it is. Powell, Wyoming, saddle bronc rider Brody Wells on a tear at the National Finals Rodeo. Here's what Brody Wells looked like doing his thing at the NFR. Let me share the photo with you from the story. This is actually Brody Wells riding in round 2 of the National Finals Rodeo at the Thomas and Mack. That's the round where I think he scored an 89.5 or pretty much a 90, right? Was that the round? Resistol's Pretty Woman. He's riding to a 90-point ride. Brody Wells having some success, certainly, at the National Finals Rodeo. We're proud of him. Wyoming Cowboy out of Powell. And then there's Brody Kress, Wyoming Cowboy out of Hillsdale. That's just east of Cheyenne, I think. Tiny little Hillsdale. I know it's kind of a hotbed for rodeo. I know a lot of folks from Hillsdale that are making some noise in the rodeo world, and that's where Brody Kress is from. Let's take a look, a couple more shots of Brody Wells doing his thing. And I did some internet snooping on Brody Wells, and I found the Pitchfork Ranch where he does his day job. And I thought it was so cool to see Brody Wells. I mean, it's so cool to see him doing this, right? Look at him. Yee-haw, cowboy. Get you some. Brody Wells of the NFR. I mean, you can't beat that. And then Brody Wells at the Pitchfork Ranch. This comes off Pitchfork Ranch's Instagram. How do I make this bigger? It's so small for you to see. I don't know if I can make it bigger. How do you make the interwebs bigger? All right. Whoa, there we go. Is that does that work? Let me double check that. Yeah, that looks good. This is Brody Wells, and this is the Pitchfork Ranch Instagram. And they write, as you can see this photo of Brody, Pitchfork says he's not only an exceptional bronc rider, but a dang good hand outside the arena too. And we loved being able to cheer on Brody from the Thomas and Mack for the last couple days, but we're glad to be back on the ranch this morning. And we're sure proud to sponsor such a classy guy and outstanding athlete for the past couple years. Been really fun to watch him succeed at the highest levels of the sport. That is one-time Pitchfork Ranch hand Brody Wells. Looking good in the saddle, Brody. There he is on the Pitchfork Ranch doing his thing. But he's riding under the lights now. He's gone from the Pitchfork Ranch cattle business, and that's such an interesting. You should check that out. I'll bet we've done a story on that Pitchfork Ranch. I should find out, because what I learned of them in just the brief amount of time trying to figure out Brody Wells and his time on that ranch, I found out the Pitchfork Ranch is pretty cool what they're doing. I mean, they really, to me, look like a real life Yellowstone. If you watch the show Yellowstone, this is a historic traditional ranch that runs beef cows, obviously, but they've learned that that's not sustainable in today's world. So you've got to expand, and they've really harnessed social media to become this modern age ranch. Where you have to share stuff that you're doing on socials. They've Pitchfork. Let me see if we've ever, Pitchfork. I guess we have done stories of them in the past. Renee Jean highlighted the Pitchfork Ranch, 96,000 acre ranch. Yeah, I like what they're doing up there. Brody Wells is an ex-ranch hand from the Pitchfork, and he did pretty well at the NFR. Let me share saddle bronc riding. And then we also have Brody Kress out of Hillsdale. So 2 Wyoming cowboys that both are riding in saddle bronc event. Let's go through the rounds. I'll just recap for you quickly how they both did at the NFR. In round 1, Brody Kress was in the money in 5th, tied for 5th, pulled down $7,000 paycheck with an 83.5 ride. That's Brody Kress out of Hillsdale. In round 2, saddle bronc riding, Brody Wells, as we just saw from that photo, rode Resistol's Pretty Woman to a 90 score. That was good for a $33,000 payday. Pretty nice for 8 seconds of work, huh? In round 2, Brody Kress was hot on his heels with an 84 ride and took home some $8,600 in round 2. In round 3 of the NFR, Brody Kress with an 86 ride. That was good enough for a tie for second, a 3-way tie for second, and a $20,000 payday. That's Brody Kress out of Hillsdale. In round 4, Brody Wells back in the money with an 86 ride on Calgary Stampede's yesterday's delivery, and took home a $14,000 for his efforts in round 4. Round 5 of the NFR, Brody Wells back on the top board again as he rode the black tie to an 89.5 point ride. That's a tie for first and a $30,000 payday for one night's work. Way to go, Brody Wells. That was round 5 of the NFR. Round 6, Brody Kress showing us what he can do. 86.5 ride on Squash Blossom Steely Dan, $23,000 payday. That was good enough for second in round 6. Brody Wells with an 84 ride, but he was out of the money. That was a day where everybody topped him. Brody Kress was the best again in round 7 with an 88 ride on Wall Street. That's a $33,000 payoff that night. And I think Brody Wells got bucked off. No, he rode an 80.5, but that was well out of the money for Brody Wells. Round 8, NFR, we're talking saddle bronc riding. Brody Kress with an 84.5 was 5th place. Brody Wells with a 6th place ride right behind him. Both of them, though, took home a payday, but not in the top riders. On round 9, neither Brody factored into the money. Kress rode a 68.5 and Brody Wells with a 79 ride, but neither one in the money in round 9. Round 10, Brody Kress, 89 point ride was good enough for third and a $20,000 check. Brody Wells was in the money as well as he rode Catwalk to an 86.5 ride. And then overall average, this goes overall average in the Saddle Bronc, neither of the Brodies finished in the top 10. Wyatt Casper was the overall best in Saddle Bronc. But what a good showing by our Brody Wells and Brody Kress. You can learn more about Brody Wells, the Pitchfork Ranch cowhand who grew up in Powell, Wyoming, and got into rodeo kind of late. Honestly, he didn't grow up in the rodeo world. His dad, I think, rodeo, but he never really got into it till like late in high school, and then started riding at the Cody Night Rodeo, and then went on to ride at the collegiate level for Clarendon College in Texas. He also was at Tarleton State in Texas, and now pulled his PRCA card, and he is riding the mean ones at the NFR. Way to go, both Brodies. Kress and Wells, we're proud of you for what you did representing the Cowboy State down there at the NFR. It's 9:03. We got to get to top of the hour news right now with Wendy Core.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Monday, December 16th. I'm Wendy Core, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, brought to you by the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. From 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, Cowboy State Daily's Jake Nichols takes you deeper into the stories that matter and keeps up with the news, weather, and sports in your part of Wyoming. Just tune in to cowboystatedaily.com and join the conversation. With multiple large industrial projects coming into the Kemmerer area, a huge housing crunch is looming. It's estimated that between 3,500 to 6,000 new workers are on their way to the area, along with their families, which would more than double Kemmerer's present population, which is around 2,500. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that one solution that's getting some attention would be modular homes from a Colorado-based company called Fading West.
Modular homes, which have been much maligned in the past, may be a solution for Wyoming's housing crunch in Kemmerer. And one of the companies that does this is called Fading West. According to the company, you would not know the difference if you walked through one of these between a stick-built house and their process. They overbuild them on purpose to fight that stigma that modular homes have in Kemmerer. They're looking at between 3,500 to 6,000 new permanent employees in the area with their families. They need a housing solution that will work.
Fading West has just returned from Maui, where they recently delivered more than 80 new, high-quality factory-built homes in 2 months flat. Mystery drone sightings from this autumn in Niobrara County bear eerie similarities to machines flying over New Jersey and other areas recently, which are currently overwhelming the nation with theories and concerns. But from late October and through November, people started spotting devices that looked like drones flying over the tiny community of Lance Creek. That's what the Niobrara County Sheriff told Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
I had been talking to New Jersey mayors and these military officials living in New Jersey. And so I had this very locked in description of what these guys were seeing. They flew over the mayor's house. And so he gives me this description of how they fly, how they sound. And so the sheriff doesn't know that, but he describes them pretty much the same way. So even though the sheriff didn't get close enough to see the size like these guys did, he's describing like, oh yes, locked formations. One group will do this pattern, one group will do this pattern, about 400 feet altitude.
A retired command sergeant major of the U.S. Army told Cowboy State Daily on Friday that the drones are so conspicuous and so numerous, he doubts they're a foreign adversary or terrorist. But he pointed out that every time governmental agencies deflect, deny understanding of the drones, or refuse to identify their origin, they only drive people deeper into distrust. A 39-year-old Upton man has been arrested and accused of planting a homemade propane bomb in the tool shed of a Wyoming oil field company near Upton in northeast Wyoming. David Riggle remains in the Weston County Detention Center Saturday, held on suspicion of possession of explosives. The jail confirmed to Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson that Riggle is being held on a $10,000 bond.
They gathered some evidence right away. The sheriff in Weston County said that they got some possible fingerprints. He was confident 11 days ago so when it happened that they would find someone, and they did. Apparently, the suspect had been in Upton for a while. What was interesting is that the judge didn't go for a $100,000 bond like the prosecutor asked, went with just a $10,000 bond, saying that it wasn't clear that this guy was a danger to the community.
While there was a potential for an explosion, the sheriff said that a preliminary inspection of the propane bomb showed that it appeared to be rigged to start a fire, not blow up. Well, Colin Townsend has been on a mission to collect 2 Weston County license plates from every year they've been issued, 1914 to present day. 12 years into it, the Osage native finally acquired one of the holy grails of his niche collecting quest, a 1945 County 21 plate with the original wrapper. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that the rare find represents a slice of American history.
Back then, Wyoming got new license plates every year. They encouraged people to use their license plates and then give them back to the state so they could be recycled, and then the metal could be used to make ammunition to support the United States war effort. And what's really interesting about this plate is not only did the collector get the plate, he got the wrapper that went with it, detailing how Wyoming was contributing to the war effort. So the tons of agricultural products, the oil and gas, all the things that Wyoming was contributing to help the Allies win World War II.
Even with this rare find, Townsend still networks with other license plate collectors on his mission to finish the Weston County run, still enjoying the unique hobby he's taken up. And now let's take a look at today's weather with Cowboy State Daily meteorologist Don Day.
Well, the front that brought some very windy conditions to central and southern Wyoming over the weekend, and some good amounts of snow to Wyoming's western and northern mountains, well, that system is off to our east today. It's going to be kind of a windy, chilly day. Another quick-moving Pacific front is going to come in tonight and tomorrow. So there's going to be another round of snow in the high country of Wyoming. Strong winds on the plains and cool conditions and chilly wind chills. This pattern is going to stay breezy, chilly, and a bit unsettled with occasional mountain snow all the way through early Wednesday.
You can get Don's full forecast on the Cowboy State Daily website. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
Open enrollment is here. Discover a range of low-cost plans from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming. Shop now to find the best option for you. Online, in town, in touch. We're right around the corner. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming. What's your plan?
Well, they investigate bugs, learn that pulling bark hurts a tree, and swing on hammocks and drink hot chocolate. Those are part of the learning and adventure that 10 kids have found as part of a new preschool in Casper. The Discovery Depot Forest School represents a unique concept for Wyoming preschoolers, outdoor forest school learning. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck paid a visit to the unique school, which meets outside all the time, even during winter.
Seeing these little kids outside playing, having a great time, and also learning in an environment outdoors, even when it's cold out. They've got their stocking caps on, their coats on, and they're having a lot of fun. They've studied migration and hibernation with holes in the ground. And don't stick a stick in the hole because there could be a living thing in there. The philosophy behind the forest school is to get the kids curious and then build lessons on top of that.
They plan to stay in session through the school season as long as the temperature and wind chill stays above zero. The key is just having the 4- and 5-year-old students wearing the right gear. Well, the first thing that the uninitiated who've only seen guns in movies might notice about guns in real life is that they're loud, as in incredibly loud. But for some, the usual ear-busting crack and concussive wallop that firearms produce on their own just isn't enough. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that there's a new trend among die-hard gun fanatics: loudners, as in the opposite of silencers.
I saw some examples, just stuff that people have posted online, where they'll take like a funnel-like device and they'll just attach it themselves to the end of the gun to amplify the sound. And there's also a couple commercially produced loudners. They are designed in such a manner that they actually like pushes the noise, the flash, and the concussion of the gun to the absolute max. One manufacturer said it'll make your 223 sound like a 50 caliber. I talked to a few different gun people here in Wyoming, and they kind of had the same reaction as I did. Why would you want to do that? Apparently, it's just something people do because they can. You know how human beings are sometimes.
One firearms expert said he doesn't think that loudners will ever catch on with Wyoming hunters and shooters, as people are trending toward afford using suppressors to make their guns quieter and save their hearing. Well, the danger of dynamite was well known to the men who used the explosives in their search for minerals in the remote mountains of Wyoming in the early 1900s. One cow discovered just how dangerous these sticks were after dining on them for lunch in the town of Birdseye, just a few miles north of Shoshone. It was 1907 when the cow wandered onto a mining claim, ate 19 sticks of dynamite, and exploded. Although the infamous incident happened well over 100 years ago, Cowboy State Daily's Jackie Dorothy was fascinated by the story that seemed too strange to be true, but for which she found a number of accounts.
The one story I found that was really credible, it was about this cow named Venus, beloved cow, and everyone in the town knew her. She gave the best milk. Well, she wandered into this site, picked up some dynamite. The foreman looked over and he's like, "Oh no, Venus!" And they started to try to stop her, but she took off running with the dynamite, bit down, boom. It was over for Venus.
Fortunately, reports of animals exploding from chowing down on sticks of dynamite have now, for the most part, become a thing of the past. And let's go now to Cowboy State Daily's chief videographer, Riley Strand, for our last story of the day.
I got bucked off down in Prescott.
Last week, Ned Ledoux, son of late country singer Chris Ledoux, released a father-son duet titled One Hand in the Riggin'. But before it could exist, the previously unreleased vocal track had to survive 21 years of inattention, a FedEx delivery, and the spite of outdated technology. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Chris Ledoux's vocals were recorded on an obsolete format, which left Ned's producer and songwriter unsure if the song would ever come together.
When the songwriter, Brent Hill, heard Ned Ledoux singing in February at a cowboy poetry gathering, he was like, "Oh, we should turn this into a duet." He had to FedEx the original from Utah to Nashville, and he put all these notes on the box like, "Do not lose this." And they try to convert it, and it's all static. To hear the producer, Mac McNally, tell it, he was able to do some tricks to find the recording under all that noise, and he actually found what he called an outstanding, unheard Chris Ledoux vocal track.
According to Mac, Ned didn't acknowledge he could sing until his dad passed, even though they sound similar. That translates to a sentiment that the producer says is audible on the final product.
And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to drop in on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake Nichols, Monday through Friday from 6 to 10 a.m. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Wendy Core for Cowboy State Daily.
All right, let's head straight to the Zoom room. I wanted to play something that was like kids. Oh, that's more like a kids. Yeah, because this story concerns my faith in the next generation. I'll tell you that. If we got kids that grew up at this preschool, I'm suddenly more happy. Dale Killingbeck joins us, Cowboy State Daily. He's hunted down this unique preschool where the kids meet outside, at least on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And no matter the weather, as long as it's not too frigidly cold, these are the building blocks of learning here, Dale. It's not so much they're learning their algebra, their XYZs, or their reading, writing, arithmetic. They're learning how to learn and how to develop a curiosity for the world. And thank goodness they're off the smart screens for 2 seconds. What a cool school.
Yeah, it is really. It's all about letting kids be curious in the out of doors, and then they try and build lessons upon that. When I was there, one of the little kids was trying to pull bark off a tree, and so then that becomes a little lesson on, well, trees are living things, so we don't want to pull the bark off a tree. Or the teacher told me that they also tell them, don't put sticks down holes because living things live in those holes. So those kind of stories that just develop out of kids being curious and being in the outdoors.
Yeah, and it's so important for them. And that stuff, I mean, these are your formative years. When you're 4 years old and you learn ripping the bark off a tree is bad for the tree, and you learn why, and you learn it, just learning it's a living thing, and you're hurting it. I mean, this stuff, that's going to stay with you forever. That is pretty cool to capture the imagination of 4-year-olds. What a neat idea. Where are they? I think in your article they were looking for a place. Look, if we're going to be outdoors, where could we go that feels outdoors, that has outdoor elements? And they even passed up a city park because it was too city, and they wanted to get real outdoors. Where are they, and how did they come about that?
They're in the Edna K. Wilkins State Park, just outside of Casper. And it came about because the teacher really wanted a place that was natural. And she approached the park, and the park was all about it. I talked to the superintendent of the park, and she told me that, this is our mission, is to help people experience the out of doors. And she was really excited that the preschool can be there through the winter.
This is, I think we're looking at a photo of the school director, Heidi Limmer. That's her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cool. We see the kids in the background. I have a little bit of video as well, showing the kids in action. Did you take that video, Dale?
I did.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
They have a couple of hammocks out there, and those hammocks are like swings, and they love to to play around with those hammocks as well.
All right, we'll show that video in just a little bit, but we'll take advantage of you while we got you. One part of this story resonated very, very true with me. My wife teaches first grade. She has for a long, long time. And what she has noticed over her long career is a trend in some of these later years, the last few years, where kids are becoming a little weaker, let's say. They're not tough enough. They get the slightest little hangnail or cut, and they think they need a Band-Aid, and they got to see the school nurse. I got a feeling this school is training them up to be a little tougher, a little more resilient.
That was the word that I heard from the parents. I talked to 2 parents from both teachers, is that the teacher, Heidi, she has a regular preschool on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And she says there's a big difference in these kids that are doing the outdoor school because they are more resilient. They're developing kind of a toughness and a desire to be outside, as well as, physically, they seem to, get coordinated, have balance more quickly than the students that are in the regular preschool.
They're making, it's not boot camp, but they're making a tougher kid, a tougher adult in the next generation. And we're going to have to be tough because I'm afraid we're going to war against the drones and the AI and whatever's going on in New Jersey. But that's not your story. That's not your concern, although it may affect all of us sooner or later. So hopefully these kids are going to grow up. I have faith in the next generation, and they're not going to take any crap from these drones flying around. That's for sure. They're going to be tough. It should be required learning. Anyone who lives in Wyoming to learn about the Teapot Dome scandal and that whole thing. I did at one time, and I'm ashamed to say I've forgotten a lot of it. The Teapot Dome, it's a place in Wyoming, but it's also the place of scandal, and it's a part of our past that we should probably learn from. I love your approach here because it's a story that we all should know. But the story you've carried out through the actual Marines, which I haven't thought of, like who were these Marines and what did they go on to do in their life? But before we get there, just give us the flyover view of what the Teapot Dome scandal was. Set it up for us.
Well, I was amazed as I dug into this. The whole Warren Harding administration was all about Teapot Dome and the 2 other oil reserves that were in California. And there was a millionaire Oklahoma oil man that approached some guys in Ohio that were involved in Republican politics, and he funded the Harding campaign. They manipulated the Republican convention in Chicago, got Harding elected. And the whole deal was that this meant this Oklahoma oil man would become the Department of Interior Secretary, and then they would put the oil reserves under the Department of Interior, and then he would get the Teapot Dome for himself and his oil empire.
Wow. And this all happened in the early 1920s. Now take us to the actual rubber meets the road moment, August 1922. 5 armed U.S. Marines stroll into to the Navy's oil reserve at Teapot Dome, and this came to a head. And these are the Marines that you're going to show us more about and build us some background for these Marines and some foreground. That's not the right word, but what did they go on to do? You introduce us to the actual boots on the ground, these Marines that had to go in. How did you find this stuff out? This happened a long time ago.
Yeah, what was interesting was there was stories all over the country, but there was stories I was able to find on a couple of the Marines and what happened to them. And what's interesting, what I didn't say was the initial millionaire from Oklahoma that funded the whole Warren Harding campaign, he got assassinated or shot by his mistress. So another Department of Interior secretary is appointed. He was the senator from New Mexico, and when he finds out that there's some drilling taking place on Teapot Dome after he signed off this lease to Harry Sinclair, who is well known in Wyoming, he is really mad. And so he tells Harding, send the Marines to kick out these drillers that are part of this other oil company. And so they know it has to be something that can be handled delicately and politically. And so they get this World War I captain who was a hero from World War I, and they handpicked these 4 other Marines to go with him. And one of them also was a hero from World War I, a corporal. And they put him on a train and they send him to Casper and then up to the Teapot Dome oil field. And they had fenced off the oil fields. And when they get there, they're armed and everything. But it turned out just to be, okay, they're here. We give you we'll stop our drilling. And one account said they had lunch together and then mission accomplished.
Yeah, but it had the potential to be a very touchy situation whenever you're talking about policing our own or a military action domestic against our own. You got to handpick certain men or women, I guess, for the job. And these Marines were carefully selected for their ability to navigate uncharted. Like, what are you going to encounter? What kind of tolerance are we going to have? The guys who had to think in the field, think on the job, they were carefully selected.
Oh yeah, they all had a lot of experience. All of them most of them were sergeants that were enlisted, and then there was the corporal who was the hero from World War I. But all of them, were well experienced, and I'm sure able to do well in the field as well as handle themselves in any kind of engagement that they'd find themselves.
Yeah, obviously, look at what they went on to do with the rest of their life. One Marine went on to become a New York State treasurer. Another would be designated a deserter in a few months after that. But Camp Lejeune, we've heard of that for different reasons. Lejeune was one of these Marines. Who was that?
What's interesting, Jake, about the guy that was a deserter, he was actually, according to the stories I found, he was sent on missions in civilian clothes to find deserters. And then all of a sudden he shows up missing. And so a lot of his friends, including the first sergeant that was on that mission, thought he probably was, kidnapped and killed by some of these guys he was trying to track down. So it wasn't probably that he was really a deserter, but he was disappeared.
Interesting.
I couldn't get into all of that.
I'm going to play a little bit of the Marine hymn. Until my technology gets better, you're not able to hear it, but I'm playing the famous Marine song that what's his name sings, Gomer. Remember when Gomer enlists in the Marine Corps? He sings the song from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli to the Teapot Dome. U.S. Marines and their involvement in the Teapot Dome scandal. This, safe to say, the story from Dale Killingback is, even if you thought you knew everything about the Teapot Dome scandal, this is a more fleshed out take, a unique angle, learning a little bit more about the Marines involved in just a weird part of Wyoming and national history back in the 20s. Pretty cool story, Dale.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
All right. What else going on? You got something cooked up for the week?
I do. I got a cool story about a children's book author that he still drives trucks, but he's becoming successful with children's books. And I'm also hunting down a feature on Spencer Boren. I talked to a fellow musician that has played with him, and I'm hoping to talk to his son later this week and have that for next weekend.
That'll be interesting. The children's book, we're going to talk about someone who's written one about Grizzly 399 in a little bit. But all right, very good. Interesting. Glad to have you back on Wyoming soil, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, buddy. Thank you, Dale. Appreciate it.
Hey, take care.
Dale Killingback joining us every Monday at this time, and he's got a couple of stories you better check out. The Teapot Dome scandal of the early 1900s, find out, early 1920s, find out more about that. If you didn't know about that, you better get up to speed. And if you sort of knew about it, like me, there was one time where I knew more details, but I've forgotten them a little bit. Dale really attacks the story from the Marines' point of view, from the Marines that were called in, and we found out a little bit more about their background. That whole situation could have gone way worse, way south than it did, but it's a part of our nation's history and Wyoming history we need to learn about and learn from. And Dale Killingback's story centers on the 5 Marines involved in things when it kind of came to a head there at the Teapot Dome scandal in Wyoming. Let's go to that. Maybe let's go to that story about the children's author. And by the way, that other story from Dale, I just love this kid's preschool in Casper where they're just taking it outdoors, man. What do we all know from 4 and 5-year-olds? They can't sit still, right? It's hard for them to be indoors in class. And we're talking about preschool, so they're not really, hitting the books so much, but they need to learn how to learn, and they need to, develop a thirst and a curiosity for the world. They need to even have that the hunger to learn stoked in them, and it's easy to do when you take kids outside, right? And you're just fascinated by everything, even if you're just goofing around, which basically these kids are doing. They're just going outside and kind of messing around a little bit. And then you'll walk over and you'll see this bee's nest and you'll say, "Hey, teacher, what's this?" And she'll say, "Well, you're about to find out." Little teaching moments. I love this story. Here's just a snippet of these kids at school doing what they do at this very unique Casper preschool that takes it outdoors, man. This is frontier learning. It kind of looks like this from Dale's short video here. This is class, by the way. And no matter how cold, as long as it's reasonable, cold, snow, yeah. When it snows, they say, "Bring it on. We want more." But it's a pretty neat preschool idea to meet kids where they are, which is outdoors. Most kids would rather be outdoors than anything than be indoors. So every Tuesday and Thursday for 4 hours, that's where this school meets, investigating bugs and just learning about life. It's a unique idea. And what you find out is what the teacher said, who started this whole thing, this forest school for preschoolers, said, "I never hear the kids whine or want to go home. These kids are just more resilient. They stick it out. When they're cold, they learn to stick it out. They're tough. They're doing great, and they love it being out here. I love it being out here with them." And what they find is they're raising kids to become more independent, and they're developing the confidence of these kids. 10 kids that go to the Forest School for Outdoor Learning preschool in Casper, Wyoming that meets outdoors all the time. It's not just recess. This is all day long. This is all a recess. Recess at this school is going back inside to put on your mittens and boots. But for the most part, yeah, they're outdoors. I think it's a fantastic idea. This day in history, we should get to that here in a little bit. Let's do that. I'm going to play a quick down-day weather forecast update, and then we'll do this day in history, and then we'll do the children's book about Grizzly 399. How about that? In that order.
Well, the front that brought some very windy conditions to central and southern Wyoming over the weekend and some good amounts of snow to Wyoming's western and northern mountains, well, that system is off to our east today. It's going to be kind of a windy, chilly day. Another quick-moving Pacific front is going to come in tonight and tomorrow. So there's going to be another round of snow in the high country of Wyoming. Strong winds on the plains and cool conditions and chilly wind chills. This pattern is going to stay breezy, chilly, and a bit unsettled with occasional mountain snow all the way through early Wednesday.
Show with Jay.
Yeah, we're back at it, and it's 9:33 this morning. This day in history, December 16th. Kind of looks like this. On this day in 1868, Albany and Carbon counties were established by the Dakota Territorial Legislature. At this point, Wyoming was part of the Dakota Territory. This is back this day in 1868. So the creation of Albany and Carbon County were done so through the Dakota Territorial Legislature. It happened this day, 1868. Also on this day, the very moment that was happening, news that there was a brand new Albany and Carbon County came to Evanston, Wyoming via train. For the first time ever, the first train to roll into Evanston happened this day in 1868. It was the Union Pacific, by the way. Just in case you were checking, the UP rolled into Evanston. First time a train had arrived in Evanston ever on this day, 1868. This day in 1871, the Wyoming State Library was established. This day in 1875, William Sweezy takes over as U.S. Marshal, replacing Frank Wolcott. Wolcott would later famously be associated with the invaders' side of the Johnson County War. And on this day, December 16th, 1942, Bob Hope entertained the troops at Casper Army Base, all part of the shows, the shows that came to our troops, a lot of them overseas, but some of them here at home. Bob Hope entertaining the troops at the Casper Army Base this day, 1942. It all happened on this day in history. A story from Leo Wolfson shows that an author is receiving a little bit of heat for what's perceived as benefiting from the death of Grizz 399. There's a new book out by former Cody resident Matthew Thomas. It's a children's book, The Legacy of 399, Queen of the Tetons. This book was just recently released, and it had some folks thinking that was a little bit of monetizing and a little bit of taking advantage of or exploiting the death of Grizz 399, but the author Matthew Thomas swears he is not trying to profit from Grizzly 399's death. He said this book was all but ready to be released just before her death, and the timing is coincidental. Of course, Grizz 399 was hit by a car in October, hit and killed. And Matthew Thomas said this book has been in the making and ready to be released before that happened. And Matthew Thomas has a personal connection with 399. He had seen her a few times. The book evidently is something that you might kids might learn to behave and learn to follow the advice of their parents, because he tries to equate 399 and her raising of how many cub offspring? I mean, 28? I forget the number, but Grizz 399 raised a lot of offspring in her life. And the 36-page book kind of explores the way Grizz 399 did it, the way she taught her cubs how to live, how to stay out of trouble, how to deal with humans, how to deal with life. And that's Matthew Thomas's book in a nutshell. But the timing of the release has some folks thinking that this is a little gratuitous, a little bit of taking advantage of the death. I mean, we're seeing that already. There's Grizz 399 beer that you can buy. Grizz 399 whiskey is coming to the market. There's no shortage of folks that are looking to market the whole concept, the whole idea, because there's a lot of power there in the branding. Grizz 399, there's international appeal for this bear. So to hear that there's a book about Grizz 399 kind of fits right in with the beer, the whiskey, the T-shirts, the hats. I mean, Matthew Thomas is not the first or last person to benefit from the notoriety of Grizz 399. That's the whole point of the book, not necessarily benefit from the death of the bear, but the life of the bear. So I could see where if you've already working on this book and it just, it's released now, it doesn't look, the optics aren't the greatest, but Thomas says, this thing was ready to go. It just happened to have come out. So what it teaches, I guess, it teaches kids tough love. It teaches kids that sometimes your mom is strict, but she was a really good mom, talking about Grizz 399. And the things she did and taught her kids in the book, teaches her kids in the book are good learning lessons for kids today. I'm interested to read how this goes. Thomas also talks about, the world of making children's books today has gotten a little bit easier, perhaps. I like this side piece. Leo Wilson kind of takes a sidestep on this story and wonders, will children's books, will authors of children's books, and I think we've already seen that market kind of really explode in recent decades. I think there's more and more children's books out there than there ever has been from a variety of authors, but there could be even more than there is today due to AI, artificial intelligence. And basically, one of the biggest expenses of a children's book, if you didn't know, is, you authoring it. Let's say you're the author, but the biggest expense is printing and then distribution. But it's before you ever get there, it's illustration. Kids' books have to be illustrated. They have to have lots of art and a lot of drawings, a lot of colorful art. And sometimes that's your biggest expense, is hiring an artist. I don't want to put any artist out of a job, but thanks to AI, according to Matthew Thomas and the story in Leo Wilson, AI, artificial intelligence, now being able to draw and AI works cheap, I guess. You don't have to pay AI. The robot doesn't eat. And Thomas said, I would have never in a million years thought of doing this, and now I can't wait to write my third book. And he credits AI and AI illustration for him being able to do this realistically without having to hire, an illustrator. And the cover of the book, I'll show you this cover. This was done by AI with just a little bit of touch up from humans. And you can see kind of how this might be generated by a computer a little bit, or maybe not. Maybe it does look like an illustrator worked it. But that's the cover of the book by Matthew Thomas, and a interesting side piece of the story explored by Leo Wilson, and that's whether AI will open new opportunity for children's books authors. And for Thomas, he's already said it has. In addition to this 399, he's working on a second children's book called Hoback the Mischievous Moose, and already working on a third book yet to be titled. So interesting preview into this book and this author, Matthew Thomas, formerly of Cody, getting a little bit of flack for publishing a children's book about Grizz 399 so soon after the death. But Matthew Thomas counters, this book was in the making long before anybody knew that we would lose Grizz 399. Let's take a quick break. I'll be right back with more stories. 9:43, 17 in front of the hour. Cowboy State Daily Morning Show Monday edition continues right after this here.
My bread and love, baby, you are my light in the dark. It's time to tell you, oh, baby, it's time. You are my bread and love, baby, you are my light in the dark. It's time to tell you, oh, baby, it's time. It's time to tell you, oh baby, it's time. You are my bread and love, baby, you are my light in the dark. It's time to tell you, oh baby, it's time.
Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake continues.
A couple of stories from Mark Hines that are of interest. Normally, Mark would join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tomorrow, he would be on to join the Cowboy State Daily Show, but unfortunately, we're going to have to bump him because we have special guest, the governor of Wyoming, will be on tomorrow. So don't miss that. Governor Mark Gordon drops in on the Cowboy State Daily Show tomorrow morning at 8:05. So we'll have a discussion with him. Normally, yes, it would be Mark Hines, but I'm sure Mark will understand that we have another Mark ready to pinch hit for him. Yeah, he just happens to be the dude running this state. We're going to talk to Governor Mark Gordon tomorrow, right after the top of the hour news and the 8 o'clock hour. So don't miss that. Meanwhile, Mark Hines has a couple of interesting stories that I would like to talk to him about. We'll do it on Thursday. One of them is this: it seems like all the news this morning it can be combined into, or all the news is interrelated. You know, we hear about the drones over New Jersey and similar drones flying over Lance Creek and Niobrara County. And what does it all mean? Maybe we all need to go out and purchase a firearm with a Loudener on it and then worry about the impending nuclear attack. Mark Hines has both of those stories about people who, never mind silencers on their guns, there are some niche market for Loudeners on your firearms. Sometimes your gun just isn't loud enough. Mark Hines had that interesting story. I'll share some of the photos. I didn't know this was a thing, but if it is a thing, you know our Cowboy State Daily writers are going to find out about it. Here's a shooter wearing ear protection with a pistol equipped with a Loudener. You see that device on the end? It looks like a suction cup of a dart, doesn't it? Look like it's if you wanted to just hold your pistol there on the wall, you could just poop. This funnel-like device amplifies a gun blast. This photo courtesy of Mountainside Outfitters. This group on YouTube. Here's a real no frills amplifier. Is this a real thing? Like, it looks like somebody did some Photoshop. It looks like the phonograph of RCA the dog, right? Let me get on the Googler. Remember RCA the dog? And he's listening to the phone. Yeah, here it is. It's kind of the same thing as this. Oh, now I can't get the restrictions on the photo. You try to do one simple thing on the interwebs, and you got to do. All right, there it is. Yeah, it's like the old phonograph thing, and RCA the dog is looking inside it because he hears his master's voice on the record player, and he's like, "Is that you? Down, Fido." That was the RCA. Oh, the dog's name is Nipper. Sorry, not Fido. Nipper, a terrier mix who's looking into the muzzle of a Loudener. Look out, Nipper, that thing might go off. Nipper's just looking back into his phonograph thing, and it looks just like this deal. That can't really be a thing. How could you even aim this? It looks like what's the old? I wish my brain could remember stuff. What's the old gun? Like the first rifles were those I can't think of the name of them. The blunderbuss. It looks like the blunder, the old rifles. Are we going backwards in technology? Blunderbuss. Let me type that into the Googler. Yeah, the blunderbuss. Here it is. It looks like the blunderbuss. Am I still sharing the screen? Yeah, I am. This thing. This is like the pistol of the pirates. It wants me to buy one. No, I'm not going to buy a blunderbuss. Yeah, this is what the pirates were using in the 1500s, right? 1600s. I don't know, a long time ago. This was like pirate stuff. And now with all the technology we have, we've just gone right back to the pirate days when Nipper the dog was looking into the phonograph and pirates were roaming around using these for pistols. We haven't advanced. We've gone backwards. Well, Mark Hines says that some people are interested in Loudeners. not silencers, on their guns. But meanwhile, Mark Hines couldn't find anybody in Wyoming that thought this was a good idea. He went around to some gun sellers, some firearms sellers, and they didn't think it was a great idea to make your guns louder. Art Huckfeld, who works at Frontier Arms in Cheyenne, said, "We'd never sell something like this. It's not something we would ever stock. Nobody would buy it." Well, I got to agree with Art. Who's looking to louden their gun? I need a loudener so everybody can hear me. Meanwhile, Mark Hines' other story concerning where would we be safe from nukes? That, I think, this is important, pressing news of the day. Top story, it ought to be. If I was running the show and not Jimmy and Greg, this is the top story. Where do you hide when the nukes come? These are things me and every other prepper wants to know. Because believe me, I have been preparing for the zombie apocalypse for a long time. I have been preparing for the day when it all hits the fan and it's nothing but us and the zombies. So the first thing I got to know is, how do you survive the initial blast that turns everybody into zombies, right? I mean, it's not just, you don't just get zombies out of nowhere. Unless you go to the post office early in the morning and try to get some business done, you'll see some zombie activity, that's for sure. Oh, I'm just kidding, post office people. Zombies don't come out of nothing. They're going to come out of the nuclear attack. That's going to be first. When whoever that we've peeved off starts launching nukes at us. And take your pick right now. I mean, you can't read the news without hearing how Trump is going to get us in trouble with the Russians, the Chinese, North Korea, Saudi Arabia, Iran. Could be any one of many in the global theater that wants to launch nukes at us. And the day is coming, according to some doomsayers. Here's the map, FEMA map that Mark Hines uncovered. FEMA, our own, that's a government agency, right? This isn't like it's some wacko produced this map. This is the Federal Emergency Management Agency that shows where nuclear bombs would likely be dropped in the U.S. for different reasons. Obviously, East Coast, Washington, D.C., you see a lot of nukes getting bombed there. I don't have the legend to this map, but I'm assuming everywhere we see color, if I don't see open white space, I'm assuming that's where the nukes are falling. East Coast, yeah, they're going to bomb the crap out of New York City first. They're going to bomb Washington, D.C., try to take down our government. They being whoever's throwing the nukes, we don't know. Florida's got some areas, Texas, areas of interest. California, they'll want to bomb L.A. just so we stop making movies portraying China as bad and portraying North Korea as crazy. They don't want to see those movies anymore. They're going to bomb Hollywood. They're going to bomb Montana. Boy, who did Montana ever make mad? I guess Montana's probably got nuclear silos just like we do at the Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne. Both the Mountain West would be left relatively untouched if it wasn't for the fact that we had nuclear warheads supposedly in Cheyenne and I guess up there in Montana. So yeah, don't think you're going to run away in Wyoming and go to the Cheyenne area. That's going to get a lot of nukes dropped on it. Maybe 20 nuclear bombs. I don't know how Mark Hines found out the numbers, but yeah, Cheyenne's going to be obliterated in the event of nuclear war, according to this FEMA map. However, there are other places in the Rocky Mountains, as you can see from this map, that are considered rugged, remote, and hard to find. Therefore, it would be a good place to seek shelter and ride out the nuclear attack that's no doubt on the way, according to the drones flying over New Jersey and the drones over Niobrara County. Somebody is scouting us. Somebody's keeping an eye on us. The nukes are coming next. Where can you escape nuclear war? Mark Hines has the important answers for you in his story that dropped yesterday in the Cowboy State Daily. And then, the impending zombie apocalypse. Assuming we're still on the air, I'll give you tips on how to survive life after the nukes drop and everybody turns into zombies. You, me, Cassie Craven, we're all going to hunker down and, just ride it out. We're ready. Unfortunately, this morning show has taken a weird turn, an odd turn. And it all started with them damn drones over New Jersey. It's got me all nervous. And then we go right to nuclear war. And, man, it's hard to navigate the world. It's supposed to be the Christmas season. And all we can do is fret and worry and wonder, what are those drones doing humming overhead? I hope it's nothing bad. This morning, we cover the modular home company that hopes to ease the expected housing crush in Kemmer. It's a modular home building operation. Remembering cowboys and Indians, the rising country western singer Luke Bell had his career and life cut way too short. And the Eastern Shoshone tribe member Willie LeClaire was treasured while we had him here in Wyoming. What a guy. Thinking about DoorDash as your side hustle? Well, we'll tell you about the ins and outs of schlepping food orders to hungry customers. Expect to be rudely treated. Renee Jean has that story. And what's going on with the drones in New Jersey? Similar drones spotted over Niobrara County. Is it time to panic? Claire McFarland says, get your hard hat on. Speaking of panic, is toilet paper going to be in short supply again next month? We'll tell you why you should start hoarding now. And the preschool in Casper, where kids hold class outdoors, even in the winter. This next generation, I think, is going to be able to ride out the whole AI thing, man. I have faith in the next kids coming up. All these stories and more we covered in the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show Monday edition. Whatever we missed, we'll go back and pick up tomorrow, 6 a.m. We'll see you then. Y'all have a great day.
Good morning. This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. The new way Wyoming wakes up.
The views and opinions expressed on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show are solely those of its host and do not necessarily represent those of Cowboy State Daily's reporters,